Anyway, lots going on in the world. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss. Let's freaking blast off, fam. Yeah. That's it. I got nothing else, honestly. I got nothing else going on. Epstein Fury rages on, right? Epstein Fury, day 12. Should Hormuz still close? Khamenei speaks. Israel wants more land. U.S. admits to murder. Breaking synagogue resub playlist. Holy wow, Thamasi is doing tricks. Sent the playlist and resubbed at the same time. Police responded active situation in Michigan synagogue. Breaking Michigan synagogue incident. Sedate Taymon rapists go free. Yeah. Incoming Hassan cheering. Wait, what? Mauled over Reed. Anyway, thankfully no injuries or casualties reported. All the kids are safe. Hell yeah. Get in now. It's basically a car wreck as of now. Yeah, I have no idea what it is. I just saw. But there's apparently like a shooter too, or something. There's like a bunch of shit going on. Obviously, because we live in the most violent country on the planet that is like doing maximum violence overseas and literally think that there will be no, like there will be no blowback. There will be no, wait, what the fuck? Oh no, the link. I messed up the link. Here, shit. Here we go. I fixed it. We live in an unimaginably violent country where material conditions are worsening day in, day out, with no adequate mental health facilities, with an unrestricted amount of weapons for people. There is like 1 million people in the population that has also been trained to do violence and has actually engaged in doing violence, that come back, are left rudderless without any sort of direction whatsoever, and are suicidal. It's a powder keg. What the fuck do you expect to happen? You know what I mean? It's shocking to me, honestly, that there isn't more violence taking place on a daily basis, even though I don't know how you could have more violence taking place on a daily basis. Very obvious that we have the maximum amount in comparison to every other OECD nation, but it's stupid not to expect America to not be on fire on a fucking daily basis, you know? But don't worry, guys. We got unlimited gambling on your phone. You can gamble on the news. You can even gamble on how many people die in the next mass shooting incident or when the nukes will start flying. That's literally real. The first thing, not real. The second thing, actually real. Polymarket actually had a nuke alert, a nuke watch. You know, you got OnlyFans, you got gambling, you got drugs, you got all the vices in the world. I don't even have an issue with these vices necessarily, but obviously I do have an issue with like unregulated and unrestrained vices. Everyone is gambling all the fucking time. I think that's the worst part about it. You know, much worse than like, well, I guess the only reason why I have smoke for OnlyFans is because the fucking owner is like a massive dick rider of Israel, but yeah, you know, that's just America, baby. It's like one big casino in your fucking phone. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's just do all the drugs, rip apart your fucking brain, no dignity in your work, no job opportunities, really. Everything's gonna be fine. All the while, we're all fucking cattle. All the money is going to unlimited warfare that doesn't even fucking benefit you in any discernible way. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's awesome. Yeah, you can hit your face with a hammer. That's what you can do. You know, you can try to bone mash and bone max or whatever the fuck that clavicular guy is doing. Yes, I know Israel dropped the charges in Sedate Taymon on the rapist that raped a Palestinian prisoner to death. I know it's a country that's doing the Holocaust. It's a Nazi country. We will, of course, talk about that as well. You know, personal news hitting hard? No, I've already skipped the personal news. All right, well, I'm not going to get into the synagogue thing yet. I will wait for more information to come out before we actually talk about it. We're going to dive right into We're going to dive right into like situation monitor watch. You already know Zoran's replies to the Tuberville's racist ass tweet. Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty goddamn good. Coach Tommy Tuberville says the enemy inside the gates. Zoran retorts and says, let there be as much outrage from politicians in Washington when kids go hungry as there is when I break bread with New Yorkers. You said you were in a good mood. I am in a good mood. I worked out this morning. I feel pretty good. I hit the weights with the limited time frame that I had before I had to do an interview with another news outlet. And I feel accomplished. I feel a sense of purpose in my life. And I highly urge you guys do the same. I think it will help steer you in the correct direction. Another minus 20K. I'm organizing out here in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Idaho, manufacturing plant and talking to workers and creating class consciousness gives me motherfucking hope. Hell yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You got to hold on to little pockets of hope in your life. You got to hold on to little goals that you set for yourself that will help you accomplish your long-term goals. You got to set short-term goals that help you accomplish midterm goals and midterm goals that help you accomplish long-term goals. And every single moment of success that you have to lean into. Every single moment of success that you realize, you have to take advantage of. You have to hold on to pockets of hope and steer yourself in the appropriate direction to build a future that you want to live in. But you have to take that initiative. Okay? W motivation. I'm starting a policy spot called Necro Policy about how policy directly kills millions of people a year. Hell yeah. There's a book about that. I'm going canvassing and door knocking for Cory Bush on Sunday. Super excited. Hell yeah, chatter. Hell yeah. Did you see this Lions post? I did. I follow Ali Larijani quite closely. I follow him all the time. They may have fixed the toilets, but they're getting injured doing the laundry. I saw that. It's pretty funny. We'll obviously talk about that as well. All right, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Iran hits tankers in Gulf nations as the U.S. and Israel continue attacks, but the attacks are not. Are you always starting earlier now? I'm not. We just did daylight savings. That's what it is. Do you have a blog? Yes, it's called the Hasanabi Broadcast. I do it. I blog every day. This is me blogging. I'm blogging currently. I'm literally blogging. All right, everybody. Iran hits tankers in Gulf nations as U.S. and Israel continue attacks. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world. It's monitoring the situation time. We're monitoring the motherfucking situation.
In the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has attacked multiple tankers near its territory, further disrupting the oil supply that the world depends on. And it is striking oil facilities in nearby countries, too. So the cost of this war is rising fast for the U.S. Listen to this number, more than $11 billion. That's with a B in just the first week.
Mind reading my last message? Did you see Trump may have watched Taft's? Yeah, I did. I saw. It's awesome.
And that's according to lawmakers briefed by the Pentagon. That is a low estimate that doesn't include buildup costs. Think about that for a second. We're also learning more about the most serious attack on Americans since this war began, when 6 troops were killed and dozens wounded. Charlie Daggett is in hard-hit Tel Aviv with the latest. Charlie, good morning to you. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Gail. Well, I can tell you it's been another noisy night here in Israel and across the Middle East, despite President Trump saying the war is won. Iran and its regional proxies unleashed coordinated attacks at multiple times.
Bro, I'm going to be honest with you. I have talked about how Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was the most restrained party in the axis of resistance for quite a while. But what Hezbollah has done in the last week or so, in the last 12 days, has shown me that Hassan Nasrallah, despite what I've said about him in the past, was also seemingly the most restrained leader of Hezbollah. Now, what's interesting about that is that's not even just my assessment. That is the assessment of the Israeli intelligence. Okay? Israelis are literally saying, what the fuck is going on? Hezbollah is hitting 2006 levels of pummeling Israel right now. What have we done? We should have never killed Hassan Nasrallah. And there's not much you can say about it. If you're going to clean up the fucking ranks and take out some of the most restrained people that were foolish enough to think that there was a diplomatic solution here to Israel's unlimited bloodshed in the region, well, then, you know, we call that a fucking own goal, okay?
Targets throughout the night.
Overnight, Iran focused its attacks on the lifeblood of the region, small boats packed with explosives slamming into these oil tankers off the coast of Iraq. In Bahrain, fuel depots.
Yeah, they got the new Hezbollah Radwan units with their, I mean, this was devastating. Seeing the diaper on head, it hurt my feelings. Like, I will admit that. But there's nothing funnier to me than seeing someone respond to Alden Markey with a fucking PBM, a Plaque Boy Max meme, okay? Like a Plaque Boy Max GIF. This is incredible to me, okay? This is a dude, Ayatollah Rahim. He's probably not an Iranian nuclear scientist. A random guy who like is an Alden Markey head, who is using a Plaque Boy Max React GIF to the Radwan Force's new gear that they're wearing. That is incredible, okay? What a world we live in. And the winner is Plaque Boy Max. Like, you got a PBM fan who is an Alden Markey fan, who's not a fan of mine, for the record. Like, not even a fucking fan of mine. We got some mutuals, but I love that. I think that's brilliant. Anyway, from what I understand, a lot of their gear comes from Russia, I think. I believe they're using a lot of Russian gear. I don't like that they use the diaper. I think that's lame. They should just let go of the diaper for sure. But yeah, this is the new Radwan Special Forces badge that they have for Asma Cool Patches, the name of Hezbollah's newly announced military operation against Israel. Yeah, but I have seen 90% of the Russian gear is AliExpress stuff currently. $100 per barrel. India and China buying Iranian crude. China economy seems to be unaffected, projected to earn even more from selling to Asian nations. Major cities dependent on green energy. They're just selling gas for funsies now. Soft power increase. Yeah. Donald Trump, you are the greatest nation builder for China. Donald Trump, you are the greatest anti-imperialist warrior we have ever seen. Donald Trump, you have done it. You have taken an empire on a downward trajectory to its maximalist conclusion, showing the rest of the world that it is a paper tiger. Trust the plan. Patriots, rise up. JD Bondon is the fucking real deal. I have to apologize to the MAGA communists. I did not realize that accelerationists were technically not incorrect as far as heightening the contradictions and worsening the material conditions for the American Treatlerites, causing them to recognize that someone as vulgar and as brutal, as honest as Donald Trump would genuinely yield the demise of American empire. America is coming to a caca-style end, it seems. The Maoist third worldist position, leaning into Donald Trump, was not incorrect. You owe Zizek an apology. Actually, even Zizek literally is pro-Iran now, which was shocking to me, because I thought Zizek was going to come out with some of the most like Euro-communist, Islamophobic trash you've ever read in your entire life, because that's usually his trajectory since like Russia. He's just become like this fucking weirdo, right? And it turns out all it took was to learn that Ali Larijani was a Kantian analytic philosopher. That Zizek is now saying, no, the Kantians are in charge of Iran. I'm on board with Iran. That literally, he became a weirdo. No, he's always been a weirdo, but he was our weirdo, okay? His later assessment has been Euro supremacist, Euro communist trash, or Euro socialist trash, whatever you want to fucking call it. But that's just Zizek. Will you post DPRK meme for Trump USA? I want to apologize. No. So, Larijani pronunciation guide. Zizek also positively likened Hamas to spear of the nation 2 years ago, lol. He is a Euro supremacist, though, and he's always been a weirdo, but he used to be our weirdo, and there was a lot of fucking Euro supremacist takes that he was doing as of late, and I feel like he's swapped back. To those who criticize the IRI, real German idealism has never been tried until now. Also, I saw some Ayatollah Khomeini. I saw some Ayatollah Khomeini statements about how Islam is a joyless religion and there is no place for joy in Islam. Not Khomeini, okay? And it reminded me of a lot of you motherfuckers, okay? A lot of you dumb motherfuckers are exactly the same. Now, Ayatollah Khomeini is a respectable figure. He was a revolutionary figure. I'm not getting into that. But some of you motherfuckers have a very similar idea in spite of not being a famous Shia cleric. You are not Shia. I didn't see you at the fucking Shia raves. I didn't see you slapping your chest going, Ya Ali. And yet you embody the spiritual mentality of some of the most pious Shias out there in terms of refusing any joy in your life, with the exception of horses. Apparently, horse riding and archery was the exception that Ayatollah Khomeini had made. You're only going to make me feel justified in having that opinion, my man. This is not going to contradict that opinion in their minds. Some of you are, if you can find that post, I want to show that, okay? I want to show that. I do Haydar every day. No, you don't. None of you are Shia. None of you are Shia. Don't even start. Yeah, this. Okay, Islam differs sharply from communism. Whereas we respect private property, communism advocates the sharing of all things, including wives and homosexuals. But that's not the quote that reminded me of a lot of joyless woke scolds on the fucking left that say joy is bourgeois decadence. Joy is counter-revolutionary behavior. You must never exhibit joy in your life. You must never experience joy in your life. If you actually make jokes, I will put you in the gulag. There are some people who behave like this, okay? Why you assume you have no Shia in chat? I'm Shia, ya Abal Fazl. I'm joking. Of course there are some Shia in the chat, but many of the joyless communists in my community are actually not Shia at all, but they apparently they exhibit the tendencies of Ayatollah Khomeini, okay? Allah did not create man. Allah did not create man so that he could have fun. The aim of creation was for mankind to be put to the test through hardship and prayer. An Islamic regime must be serious in every field. There are no jokes in Islam. There is no humor in Islam. There is no fun in Islam. There can be no fun and joy in whatever is serious. Islam does not allow swimming in the sea and is opposed to radio and television serials. Islam, however, allows marksmanship, horseback riding, and competition.
Legalize comedy.
Anyway, we are atheists with Shiite characteristics. I mean, this isn't the fucking normal Shiite characteristic either. This is like super. This is like when you are a Shia autist, okay? When you have maxed out your Shia levels and you've become an Ayatollah. But it is so funny to just like have this quote out there of being like, Islam is when no jokes. And the less jokes you do, the more a Shia you are. Like, that's crazy. They should send Elon to Iran so we can legalize comedy there.
Legalize comedy.
Yeah, we should just send Elon to Iran, just in general. Yes, we have the new supreme leader and leader of the Islamic Revolution, Sayyid Mujtaba Husseini Khamenei, who came out with a statement. It was just an audio statement. We'll talk about that as well. Big If True chairman got the Iran Plus subscription. Yeah, I saw that. Wait, what? China owned and crude bulk carrier crossing the Strait of Hormuz this morning. Yeah, no, that's not the right tweet. The tweet that you were trying to send me probably is that Khamenei has a new Twitter account with a Twitter blue check mark too, I think. Rokana is shouting you out again. What is this? I am proud to stand with Grandmain, Zohar Mamdani, and join us on the Huns feed. The problem is with neocons and our party who blundered into Iraq, 20 years into Afghanistan, Libya, Gaza, and now support the Iran war. Out with the old guard. We need a new moral direction. Would love to see more Dems call out anti-Semitism on their own side. Press third way tweet, third way liberal, complaining about anti-Semitism on the left flank, the only people in America that are not anti-Semitic, by the way. Like, I will say this, okay? Right now, there is definitely a heightened anti-Semitic environment. Okay, it's impossible not to acknowledge. Now, I've talked about like systemic discrimination versus like individual acts of anti-Semitism or like violence that Jews might be subjected to in their places of worship and things like that. This is happening. This is real. But as far as like the output goes, for some fucking strange reason, every single right-wing figure and every single center-right figure that is on the liberal side is literally only focusing on the left, which, as far as output and as far as commentary goes, are the only motherfuckers that are not actually anti-Semitic but anti-Israel. It is crazy, okay? It is ridiculous. Wake the fuck up. I mean, no one fucking thinks you're being sincere when you fucking constantly chirp about anti-Semitism on the left, but it blows my mind, especially to do this about Mamdani. Like with Graham Plattner is a white guy who had a fucking Totenkopf tattoo. Okay, so you have a little bit more mileage to say that. And even with someone like myself, I am not running for office, so I have a lot more liberties as far as what I can and can't say about understanding and examining the reasons as to why like resistance groups form against American and Israeli imperialism in the region. Zohran Mamdani, as a public figure who is now the mayor of New York, is not going to make those assessments. He's not going to say those things, right? So even with someone like myself, you're lying when you say I'm a fucking anti-Semite because you're a piece of shit. But like Zohran Mamdani is the last guy that you can actually convince Americans is anti-Semitic. It's fucking ridiculous. You just don't want anybody criticizing Israel. It's very obvious. You are a ridiculous person. It starts with admitting how big a problem it is and then revoking all support for Plattner, icing out Mamdani. Like some of the most popular people, not even myself. I mean, I would say I'm a relatively popular figure on the left, but like these are fucking popular candidates. Shut the fuck up!
Liberal. Happy fun, la la la. Human smuggling, fentanyl deaths, forced government euthanasia, chopping up children's genitals, la 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 la.
Anyway, it starts with admitting how big a problem it is, then revoking all support for Plattner, icing out Mamdani. Like these guys used to run the show. Okay? This is third way. Okay? Third way is literally the domineering party ideology since Bill Clinton, okay? They ran the fucking show. They are responsible for what the modern National Democratic Party looks like. If you think that they suck shit and you're like, why? Why are they so pro-Israel and so invested in neoliberalism? They are the reason. And now they're dying. Their prominence and their perspective is seen as the old guard mentality, and it's over from the population's perspective. Even people who don't know how to fucking communicate. Yes, it started with Jimmy Carter, but it was solidified under Bill Clinton. Okay? Here is the thing. This mentality is gone now. Even people who do not understand, who do not have the political education, who do not have the proper way to communicate their anger and frustration, recognize that there is something deeply wrong about the pathetic nature of centrist liberalism in the Democratic Party. The pathetic nature of the Democratic Party's leadership. They know it fucking sucks. Okay? They understand it fucking sucks. My job is to lead them in the appropriate direction. My job is to explain to them that their anger and resentment with the Democrats do not stem from the Democrats not actually moving appropriately into the moderate center position to win over the mythical moderate voters, but their anger and resentment actually stems from the fact that the Democrats are completely captive, completely servile to the same corporate benefactors that the Republicans are, and that's the reason why they look like a controlled opposition party. That's the reason why they are a controlled opposition party. And it's mind-boggling that the Democrats are finally having that moment, that Tea Party movement that is building from its own ranks. And you have some real grassroots-funded candidates that are saying, no, we must look for an alternative. We must look for a message that centers the working class. She said you're a Holocaust denier. Oh, my Lord. We can't shake our heads in disbelief that 24% of young Dems and 30% of Republicans of all ages believing the Holocaust was exaggerated, did not happen, while downplaying or straight up ignoring anti-Semitism with our intent. Lily Cohn, if you can find one instance where I've ever denied the Holocaust, I will give you $1 million, you fucking psychopath. God, these people are such fucking evil losers, and they're so irrelevant, too. Who is this person? She is the press person for Third Way. Third Way is a neoliberal centrist think tank that is actively trying to, like, she's not a part of the Democratic Party, okay? It's weird to say that about someone who worked for Kamala Harris and someone who worked for Joe Biden, who now works for Third Way. But it's just crazy. First of all, in your very public attack on our young staffer, you simply made up crap about us. We oppose Iraq too, for what it's worth. Second, you really stand with this asshole? Oh, then it's as a lesser evil voter, I will once again repeat my harm reductionist credo. Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state. And the real harm happening here is that another illegal stolen land sale is taking place at another synagogue. Do you have any disagreements with that? Can you communicate why you think Israel is the lesser evil here without leaning into complaints? Wait, actually, you know what? I'm going to say, I hear you chirping, but I don't hear why you have... you really do have to start suing these motherfuckers for libel? I'm not going to do that, okay? I hear you chirping, but I don't hear what your reasonable disagreements are. This is bullshit and you know it. We do not support the Iran war. We have publicly and strenuously opposed it. Hassan, I thought you stopped live tweeting on screen, so if you delete it, they don't have the screenshot. I don't care. Hassan, I recommended you to my grandmother to watch. What would be a good video to share with her to get her interested and educated? Thank you. Very helpful for her. Here, I got you. Hold on 1 second. Let me show you what we could use here. This is a really good question. Thank you, Silo Kiki. I think this is where we start. The problem is your grandma might get aroused a little bit too much. Your grandma might have a little bit of a cardiac arrest of sorts if she watches this shit. Are we gonna have a Jack Dassan summer again? Yes. All right, anyway, enough. All jokes aside, I don't know what the best video to show your granny is, but showed this to my grandma and she fucking exploded. Thanks, man. You got it. Categories for left, all the topics to cover. Maybe it will change her thoughts. I'm sorry I asked. No, we're fucking with you, man. Go to Hassan Hub. It's an independent fan-made hub for all of the videos. You can bracket it off of like individual things. But my suggestion always is like, identify what the interests are for your grandparents or for your parents or for your friends. Like if you have friends that are, for example, like they love working out, you can show them a podcast that I've done with like a meathead, right? If you have friends who are really into like econ shit, you can show them a podcast that I've done with like, iced coffee hour or something like that. Because those are probably much better than the unfiltered, unrestrained live broadcast as far as like an entry point. She's on 1 HP, chill. Yeah. Grandma vids I would show are the I've Had It podcast. Yeah, I think that's probably a good one. Oh, PBS, exploding Chatter's grandmother since 2016. Hell yeah. I've heard you pissed off the tankies yesterday. What did you do? Stop. I don't like using tanky as a pejorative. Okay, stop it. His grandma probably is a real gamer, so don't show her Hassan losing a Nameless King. I won Nameless King. I defeated Nameless King. Anyway, Third Way is so mad. Third Way is so mad because they're losing their grip of relevance amongst the base, and Democrats, if they are responsive to the needs of their voters, are going to literally drop this Third Way shit, and it sucks for them. Calling Mike for PH Chatters tankies is so funny. They're not. They're not at all. It is so funny though that like this person, if they just talked about me, I think like that would be one thing. But when they like package it up with Graham Plattner, who is objectively more popular than the centrist neoliberal candidate that's pro-Israel, and then also tying this movement to Zohran Kwame Mamdani, the most popular national Democrat right now, the most popular figure in the National Democratic Party, is crazy. Okay, here are a few. Hamas is 1,000 times better than fascist settler colonial state. It doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. In just the world, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. Okay, these are just my statements. I don't think you understand. These are my statements. Can you explain what you disagree with? I consider Zionism to be a fascist, ethno-supremacist ideology that is hell-bent on destruction and expansion. Can you tell me why that's wrong? Is this Matt Bennett guy supposed to be smart? Yes. Not to coach you, but you really do think you're going to go through the third way guy by using your valid leftist speak? You got to water it down for his peanut brain. This is not about This is not about fucking. This is not about convincing the third way guy. Okay? This is more so about stressing over and over again that the only tool that pro-Israel folks have at their disposal is fake outrage, is feigned outrage, is manufactured outrage, and it's like cynical deployment of the term anti-Semitism against people who have spent a good deal of fucking time fighting against anti-Semitism. Okay? That's it. So my argument here is basically to identify that, because inevitably he is going to do that, okay? Because he has no fucking argument other than outrage over statements. Why do they have your statements on file? He got them statements a bit too fast, bruh. They do, because they're getting it from Jewish Insider and all these other like Zionist newspapers that specifically funnel these talking points to people who want to defend Israel. The problem that these guys don't understand, however, is that these talking points don't fucking matter to average people. As a matter of fact, the more they conflate people like myself with anti-Semitism, and the more they conflate Israel with Judaism, the more they make people anti-Semitic. Third Way does not strenuously oppose the Iran war. They issued a mealy-mouthed memo on 2/28 that's nothing but limp process concerns and hammering over unanswered questions that ends by declaring Third Way strongly supports our troops and hopes this mission succeeds. I love you, bro, but you need to clarify the rape comment. He will think that you're saying that they happened and were super cool. Please work on communicating with these normies. Yeah, the rape comment is the most disingenuous one out of all of them because it's cut in fucking half. I said it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. That doesn't change the dynamic of genocide for me at all. It doesn't justify genocide. Do you think it justifies genocide? Should we genocide? Should we genocide an entire fucking group of people in Alabama if rapes are happening in Alabama, for example? It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, it literally doesn't matter. It doesn't, because people understand that now. Like, people on October 10 might not have understood that sentiment, but now even when you fucking place that out of context, it still doesn't matter, because people do get it. People are like, okay, yeah, no, that does make sense. I don't think it's justifiable to do a genocide, because now people are aware that Israel is committing a genocide. In the past, people were not even aware that Israel was an apartheid state. Now people are aware that Israel's an apartheid state and doing a genocide. So when I fucking talk about it like this, I don't have to constantly go through the motions and explain to people what a genocide is and how Israel is conducting it, you know? Anyway, these people are bad faith actors regardless. You know, they're bad faith actors regardless. They're not invested in the truth. Usha Vance wants to name her son Hassan. Shut the fuck up. That's funny. I thought you were being serious. Yeah, for chatters asking why he has those quotes handy. He has those, it's a circle jerk between the same guys. Exactly. Notable, quotable from Third Way Dems. And it's so funny. It's like, the other side of this question is, where are liberal Zionist Jews supposed to go? What are you going to do? Vote for the Republicans? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to vote for the not anti-Semitic Republicans because you care about Israel that much, if that's your primary concern? Because I don't think it is. I think you're fucking lying. I think you are literally lying to me and maybe to yourself. And some might. Good luck with that. If you want to vote for actual active Holocaust deniers, have fun with that. You're a fucking idiot. You are literally a fucking moron. They're going to put you in fucking concentration camps, and you're a moron that will vote for it because you were so delusionally invested in this idea that Israel represents. Okay? It's so dumb. Oh, nasty Arab-loving, nasty Islam-loving freaks on the Democratic Party don't want genocide. Well, I want genocide. I'll vote for the pro-genocide party, even if that inevitably comes back, loops back around and genocides me. That's what you're doing. I personally don't even concede the grape claim. I ask for evidence. The best evidence is always either he say, she say, or they just act like you're a monster for rejecting the propaganda made to dehumanize the resistance like a barbaric grapist orcs. Stop saying grapist. I'm willing to engage with these kinds of conversations because I know people like fucking Zoran are never going to do that. People like Grant Platter are never going to do that. And if they try to successfully bully politicians to not interact with me for this reason, guess what? Then those politicians are fucked. Okay? Because the reality is that the reason why politicians come to me, come to this community, is because it's a fucking massive community. Okay? It's a massive community of fucking door knockers. It's a massive community of activists, a massive community of anti-Zionists. And I consider Hamas to be a murderous terrorist organization that killed, raped, tortured, kidnapped, and terrorized civilians, as well as murdering scores of their own people. It's not progressive to be on the side of Hamas. That's it? Wait, it feels like he responded to something else. Okay, I don't think you understand. These are my statements. Can you explain what you disagree with? And I consider Hamas to be a murderous terrorist organization that killed, tortured, raped, terrorized. Okay. I'm just going to reply with Israel this. Wait, where is it? Everything you claim doing, Israel has done tenfold. Thanks for understanding my position for harm reduction. You must really hate Israel then. Yeah, exactly. Right, disregard all previous comments, and no, it's not a bot. That's a real human real human being. It's even sadder. This guy co-founded a company, Jesus, and I consider Hamas to be a murderous terrorist organization that killed, raped, tortured, kidnapped, and terrorized civilians, as well as murdering scores of their own people. It's not progressive to be on the side of Hamas. Also, murdered their own people. Brother, Israel literally used helicopters to massacre Israeli civilians because they did not want Israelis to be captured by Hamas. What the fuck are you talking about? Hamas murdered its own civilians. The country you are defending has done a genocide, okay? Israel has literally killed its own prisoners of war that had escaped the resistance, that had white flags that they were waving saying, we are Israeli, we are Israeli. They fucking slaughtered them. Israel blew up their own hostages, the Hamastages. It's fucking idiotic. You can never defend Israel. Israel has no leg to stand on. It's ridiculous. Every accusation is projection. It's so crazy. Everything you claim Hamas is doing, Israel has done 1,000-fold. Thanks for understanding my position on harm reduction, I said. Anyway, these guys are fucking monsters, brother. And not only are they monsters, but they're deeply unpopular monsters. Their position is gone. Their position has no weight. Okay? There are people who believe this shit on the Republican Party side. They are evangelical psychopaths, many of which are also deeply anti-Semitic. Okay? The analog here is, ask him if the right to rape protests justify genocide in Israel. Yeah, like the Hamas rape argument is so fucking ridiculous because, one, it's not established on any sort of significant evidence whatsoever. It's all circumstantial shit that was pieced together. There has been zero people that have come out. There have been documented cases of sexual assault in captivity. This is real. That did happen. Okay, I've said it over and over again. As far as like mass rapes directed by Hamas on October 7, it's fucking pure bullshit. Okay, there has not been any evidence whatsoever to suggest that that took place, and they still fucking run with this narrative. Meanwhile, I don't think Israel should be genocided, even though they had a pro-rape rally. They had a pro-rape January 6th. And now the people that they were committed to releasing, The concentration camp guards at Sdei Teiman are now free. The Israeli government literally released them. So the pro-rape rioters won. And I still don't think Israel should be genocided because I'm not a fucking psycho. You have to be a psychopath to operate like that. What's wrong with you, Hassan? Hamas and Hezbollah and the Ayatollahs are monsters. I'm Muslim from Europe, by the way. I have no problem to condemn terrorists. He literally did. They talk about Hamas. You talk about Israel. Can't you see how stupid this is? I love Euroids, bro. Euroids who are like, listen, I'm Muslim from Germany, okay? And I have a centrist opinion. I think, well, Israel is the greatest nation on earth, okay? Israel is the greatest nation on earth. No, Austria. Oh my God, I clocked it. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm Austrian, not German. And I think Allah is with Israel. You are a dog. You are spiritually destroyed. You are cattle. Okay? Oh my God. Oh, you fucking shameless cow. I'm Austrian and I voted for Israel on the Eurovision 1,000 times. Yeah. Yeah. As a Muslim in Austria, I think the real anti-Semitism during the Holocaust happened because of the Muslims. Have you heard about the Grand Mufti? Yeah. Real anti-Semitism never came from the Christians, yeah? It was my Muslim grandparents that did the real anti-Semitism. No Muslim is saying that? Yeah, I know. He's a fucking idiot. It is funny, though. There is no shot that there's a... I like that I was able to clock his fucking Euroid, his Euroid perspective instantly, though. I bet he's Albanian? Fuck no. No human being with a real conscience is going to look at the situation and say God is on the side of, like, I'm not a religious person at all. You guys know this already, but no fucking person with a conscience is going to literally say God is on the side of the apartheid state that is literally committing atrocities right now. 750,000 Lebanese people have been displaced from their homes as Israel is bombing Beirut, okay, destroying entire city blocks in Beirut at this moment. It's completely ridiculous. And that is after it's coming on the heels of a genocide that Israel committed for 2.5 fucking years with unlimited weaponry from the United States of America and from many European countries as well. It is completely fucking ridiculous. You don't know Albanians then, man? No, there are, you know, the pro-NATO guys, obviously, but it is not as commonplace as you think. It's like the fucking Persian diaspora. People are like, oh, every diasporoid is like begging Israel to nuke Tehran. That's not the case. It's just unfortunate that the media has a very specific purpose to play here, a very specific role to play here. And that's precisely the reason why the only diasporoids you hear from are the ones who are like, I am from Tehran. My family wants Kubide. My family wants nuclear bombs. Please, President Trump, nuke Tehran. That's not the case, though. The majority of fucking Persians in diaspora also are not in support of American and Israeli bombing campaigns in Iran. It's more of a 50-50 split that actually favors the side that has the understandable position here, which is, hey, I don't like the IRGC, but I also don't want to get fucking nuked. My dad hopes that Israel nukes Iran so Jesus will come back because that's what the Bible says. You know what's ironic? People were actually talking to me about... people were like posting that one time where I was like having a little bit of an argument with a diaspora Iranian Uber driver, and he had the same attitude. It's so funny that like that is a commonly shared attitude by many fucking freaks. Also, the Bible does not say that at all. The Bible does not consider nuclear arms, okay? It's also much more Iranians against the war now. That 50-50 poll was taken ages ago. I know. That 50-50 poll was in the aftermath of the 12-day war. This is far more consequential for regular Iranians than the 12-day war because now they have they're engaging in chemical warfare as well. Yeah, Netanyahu called the IDF rapists heroic warriors, in Hebrew, of course. The blood libel known as the Sede Taimon affair against the warriors of Force 100, which has damaged Israel's reputation in the world in an unprecedented manner, has reached its end. It's unacceptable that it took so much time to close the case that was handled in a criminal manner against IDF warriors who confront the worst of our enemies. The state of Israel must pursue its enemies, not its heroic warriors. Yeah, the child annihilator is now saying that the Holocaust committing concentration camp guards that literally raped Palestinians are actually brave warriors. Thank you. What is this? You're not considering the mass murder from the IRI, though? They changed lots of minds on the war. Right now, the unfortunate truth is the majority of the Iranian diaspora in different ways like the war. I'm saying this is an anti-war Iranian diaspora living in the U.S. It doesn't matter. They're fucking irrelevant is my point. The truth is what is relevant. And many, unfortunately, with the incalculable human toll, in the human death toll, will arrive at the truth. Okay? And many already have. There are people who not only a couple days ago, maybe like a week ago, would have come in here and yelled at me and said, oh, you are supporting the Islamic Republic. How dare you? How dare you support the Islamic Republic? This is devastating. They've killed so many protesters. Many of them have recognized the truth very quickly. Okay? It's that simple. What is this guy saying? Anti-Semitism was invented by the Bolsheviks to combat criticism of the genocide of Russian Christians. Research it. Brother, do you know what community you are in right now? We love the fucking Bolsheviks. Hello? Nazis and Islamists both say that line for some reason. Yeah, Russian Christians literally invented modern anti-Semitism. Yeah, literally. That's also true. Bro thinks anti-Semitism was invented after pogroms. Bro thinks Lenin was a Christian, Lamau. No, no. These guys think Lenin is either, some of them will say Lenin is an agent of the Rothschilds, or they will say Lenin is a Jew, which I think Lenin does have a Jewish ancestry. Not that it fucking matters, regardless. Lenin was a lion and a fucking hero, okay? One of the best people that has ever existed throughout the history of mankind, okay? That's number one. Fuck you if you have any disagreements with that statement. I do not care, okay? Lenin. You seem really obsessed with this Lenin guy. Yeah. Many Islamists are literally Nazis. There's no neo-Nazi Germany group. Okay, whatever. Wait, LeMafiao, that's crazy. Lenin was super against anti-Semitism. Yes, no, that's what it is. That's why they say the Bolsheviks were all Jews or secret Jews or Jew affiliated. That's a Nazi argument. That's what they say. Nazis say the Bolsheviks were responsible for the evisceration of Russian Christians. They killed 17 guerrillian Russian Christians. That's what they say, okay? They did a Holocaust, a real Holocaust on the Russian Christians. That's the argument that these fucking Nazis come up with all the time. Pardon me, but did you say Russian Christians invented modern anti-Semitism? Please explain. The modern iteration of anti-Semitism comes from the protocols of elderly Zion, right? The elders of Zion. That is a Russian Tsarist formative anti-Semitic text. There were pogroms that existed far before then, but that basically took all of the anti-Semitic hatred and created like one textbook that you can identify with. Okay? It is quite literally the most consequential anti-Semitic work that modern anti-Semites lean into. Like all the stuff, like, yeah, Jews controlled the world. All this shit comes from protocols of Zion. It tricked Ford. I mean, you can't say it tricked him if he was just like riding for it pretty aggressively, as hard as he was riding for Adolf fucking Hitler. Okay. Did you blasting off today? I did. All right. Where the fuck were we? All right. Monitoring the situation time.
Was burned. The Bahraini government warning people to stay indoors to avoid inhaling poisonous fumes. Critical energy sites in Oman were also targeted. An Iranian drone filmed dive bombing into a storage facility in a direct hit. Also under fire, the Gulf's commercial infrastructure as another luxury high-rise in Dubai is struck by a drone. And in Kuwait, 2 people reportedly wounded in a strike on an apartment block. 6 U.S. soldiers died in the first 48 hours of the war at a tactical operations center in Kuwait. That drone attack, CBS News has learned, was much more serious than previously reported. With more than 60 injured and 30 still hospitalized as of Tuesday, airlifted to a U.S. medical hub in Germany and being treated for brain injuries and shrapnel wounds. And overnight, we're learning that another military facility in the region has been hit, smoke and flames rising above a U.S.-led coalition base in northern Iraq. U.S. and Israeli warplanes and missiles continued hitting targets across Iran as Israel intensified its campaign against Iranian proxies Hezbollah in Lebanon on another front in this widening war. While on the ground in Tehran, funerals for the hundreds of Iranians killed in this conflict, as much an expression of mass rage as mourning.
So the death toll in Iran is over 1,300, according to the regime there, and there is increasing evidence that the United States is responsible.
Mark bar Israel is what they keep saying, and it's very terrifying that they're saying that, okay? Animal abuser. No, I'm not going to ban this guy. Fuck it. Who cares? Thank you for your brave advocacy.
Responsible for the bombing of a girls' school that killed at least 175 people, most of them children. It appears to have been struck by a Tomahawk cruise missile, and the U.S. is the only military in this conflict that uses that weapon. Nate?
Are you wearing Gucci Jinko jeans? No, I'm wearing a Chinese brand called Army Logic. Those are my pants, and they're big parachute pants, and I really like them because they're very comfortable.
And a Fox News alert because
such
Iran's
brave.
new supreme leader issuing his...
Yeah. Okay. The new Iranian supreme leader has spoken. Okay. The new Iranian supreme leader has spoken. We're obviously going to get to that. Sayyid Mojtaba Hosseini Khamenei has spoken for the first time since he was elected. Okay. The translation is as, maybe read this statement instead. What, in fucking Farsi?
Excuse me, his first public statement. It was a written message that was read by an Iranian state TV news anchor. Excuse me, Trey Inks. Let me hand it over to you while I cough, and you tell us what exactly happened. What did he say?
Yeah, Dana, good morning. We're just getting this in right now. On Iranian state media, a presenter read a new statement from Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, and Reuters is reporting a few highlights from those remarks, saying that the supreme leader said in the statement, "We believe in friendship with neighbors and only target the bases, and we will inevitably continue." That is not true. We know that many Gulf countries have had their residential and civilian infrastructure attacked. Now, Iran's new supreme leader in this statement goes on to say all U.S. bases should immediately be closed in the region, and those bases will be attacked. He also says in the statement, again, that was presented on state media, he does not appear in the statement, that he calls on unity among the people of Iran and participation in Quds Day. Now, Quds is the Arabic word for Jerusalem, and this day normally falls on the last Friday of Ramadan. And so, if my math is correct here, that would be March 20th of this year, the last Friday of Ramadan, when traditionally we have seen Iranian proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah launch attacks and also large demonstrations in the region. And so this is certainly something to look out for in the days ahead. But again, this is the first statement.
He looks like you in 30 years. Bro, chill. I mean, Trey Inks I go back and forth on, because unlike many of these other hucksters and charlatans, he has literally fucking embedded with Hamas, and he has literally interviewed Hamas. So he's an interesting guy. He is an interesting guy. There were instances like where even as like the main reporter in fucking Israel, he just straight up was like, you guys are slaughtering. Yeah, he's an on the ground guy. He straight up was one of the few American journalists that is stationed in Israel that straight up was like, you guys are slaughtering journalists. You have to stop killing Palestinian journalists. It's fucking unacceptable. Oh, you weren't talking about Trey Inks. You were talking about Khamenei. You're saying Khamenei is what I will look like in 15. That's crazy. I didn't understand what you were saying. I thought you were saying I thought you were saying Trey Yinks looks like what I will look like in the future, even though he's like younger than me. And no, what you meant instead was I will look like Ayatollah Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei. I got to get me one of them hats. And then we can see the gray beard comes for all. I mean, yeah, my beard is graying already, so.
That we are receiving from Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. He speaks about the attacks on Gulf countries. Also,
I'm not, first of all, I'm not Shia. That's number one. Number two, I am, however, Dr. Jihad. So that's you need to refer to me by my actual name, Dr. Jihad. Yes, I have a doctorate in both jihad and also racism.
Says that he will target U.S. bases in the region, and then also talks about the Strait of Hormuz. This is an interesting part here, and again, we are just getting these highlights from Reuters, watching state media in Iran. They're first coming out, of course, in Farsi. And Iran's new supreme leader goes on to say the closure of the Strait of Hormuz should be continued as a tool to, quote, pressure the enemy. And so...
Okay, it's here. We'll just read it straight from the Drop Site News' translation. Iran's supreme leader, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, says, I, your servant, Sayyid Mojtaba Hosseini Khamenei, learned of the result of the vote by the Honorable Assembly of Experts at the same time as you through the broadcasting of the Islamic Republic. For me to sit in the place where two great leaders, Imam Khomeini, the great, and the martyred Khamenei once sat is a difficult task. This seat carries the legacy of someone who, after more than 60 years of striving in the path of God and renouncing all kinds of pleasures and comforts, became a radiant figure and a distinguished leader, not only in the present era, but throughout the history of the rulers in this country. Both his life and the manner of his death were intertwined with a grandeur and dignity born from the reliance on the truth. I had the honor of seeing his body after his martyrdom. What I saw was a mountain of steadfastness, and I heard that his uninjured hand remained clenched in a fist. Those who are knowledgeable about the many dimensions of his character will need much time to speak about them. Here I will suffice with this brief account and leave the details for more suitable occasions. This is the reason it is so difficult to assume the position of leadership after such a person. Bridging that gap will only be possible with the help of God and the support of you, the people. So one of the most important aspects of this statement was the demand for unity. Now, for people who are understandably against the IRGC, against the Islamic Republic, that are in Iran, will hear. I wonder what their perspective will be after this statement, because he doesn't. He basically reveals some statements that is a rallying cry for all Iranians, that like demands. That makes demands towards unity and asking for, letting bygones be bygones, basically, but also simultaneously saying we will have a firm hand, okay, in dealing with anyone that is aligning with the enemy. So he starts off by saying unity among the individuals and the group of the nation, which usually becomes particularly evident in times of hardship, must not be compromised. This will be achieved by overlooking points of disagreement. So his first statement, perhaps one of the most important in his 7-point plan, is that it's time to unite against the Zionist entity, against America that is killing our children, but also we must overlook our points of disagreement. Okay, so that's pretty big. An effective presence on the scene must be maintained, whether in the way you demonstrated during these days and nights of war, or through various forms of meaningful participation in social, political, educational, cultural, and even security arenas. What matters is that the correct role is properly understood and carried out as much as possible without harming social unity. Do not refrain from helping and supporting one another. Praise be to God. This has always been the enduring trait of most Iranians. It is expected that in these particular days, when circumstances naturally weigh more heavily on some members of the nation than others, this spirit will become even more evident. I also call on service institutions to spare no effort in assisting these dear members of the nation and supporting grassroots relief structures. I sincerely thank our brave fighters who, at a time when our nation and our beloved homeland have been unjustly attacked by the leaders of the arrogant front, have blocked the enemy's path with powerful blows and dispelled their illusion that they could dominate our country or possibly divide it. The demand of the masses of people is the continuation of effective and regret-inducing defense. So then he moves into, once he's done talking about like the importance of unity and keeping the Islamic Republic together, keeping Iran together, he then moves into talking about the blowback or the retaliatory strikes of the IRGC, which he commends. Certainly, the leverage of blocking the Strait of Hormuz must also continue to be used. Studies have been conducted regarding the opening of other fronts in which the enemy has little experience and will be highly vulnerable, and their activation will be carried out if the state of war continues in accordance with strategic considerations. I sincerely thank the fighters of the Resistance Front. We regard our countries of the Resistance Front as our best friends. This is him talking about the Houthis, Ansar Allah, and also Hezbollah as well, and the Shia militias in Iraq, saying, we regard the countries of the Resistance Front as our best friends, and the cause of resistance and the Resistance Front is an inseparable part of the values of the Islamic Revolution. Undoubtedly, the unity of the components of this front will shorten the path to overcoming the Zionist sedition. As we have seen, brave and faithful Yemen has not stopped defending the oppressed people of Gaza. Hezbollah, despite all obstacles, has come to the aid of the Islamic Republic, and the Iraqi resistance has courageously followed the same path. He says, I express my deep sympathy with the families of the exalted martyrs. Again, the weight that he places on each individual component is very important here. Like the hierarchy of how, the hierarchy of like what is the primary focus of the speech stands with unifying the public and ensuring that the Islamic Republic is capable of mounting a serious defense, and the primary focus, like the first thing out of the gate, is do not divide the public. The second is lean into the resistance forces that are striking blow after blow against the Zionist enemy, and then talking like third down in the line is when he expresses the regret and the deep sympathy, not regret, but the deep sympathy he has with the families of the exalted martyrs. Why don't we analyze Trump's speeches like this? Because Donald Trump is not a well-read individual. He's a fucking moron. He's a babbling fool. Okay? It's what do you want? Let's listen to what Pete Hegseth has to say. Unfortunately, we do not have competent leadership in this goddamn country. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would want competent leadership in this goddamn country, especially as it's like, bombing other nations into oblivion. Probably best that, we don't have a competent imperial state here. But why am I getting timed out? Suck me D. Fluff you, Fossabat. You're so boring. Whoa, yo, chillest. Hassan, you got some pretty loyal fans. I'm impressed. You guys might as well suck Hassan's did. You good, bro? You all right? You're arguing with a fucking bot, dumbass. Take a day off. Reconsider. Dude is tweaking off of fucking Roblox compilations on TikTok. He came in here and he's like, y'all are being Diddy Blood Epstein folk. Hassan's did? 9-year-old white kid from fucking Naperville talking like this. Anyway, mentally. This comes from a shared experience I have with these noble families. Aside from my father, whose loss became a public grief, I entrusted my beloved and loyal wife, in whom I had placed many hopes, my devoted sister, who dedicated herself to serving our parents and ultimately received her reward, her young child and the husband of my other sister, a learned and honorable man, to the caravan of martyrs. Yet what makes patience in the face of such hardships possible, and even easier, is the attention to God's certain and definitive promise of a great reward for the patient, martyrdom, that kind of stuff he gets into. I assure that everyone will not forego avenging the blood of your martyrs. Then he goes back into the IRGC and the forces that are defending Iran right now are doing so in an effort to also avenge the death of those who have been slain. The little girls. 72 virgins, yay. Man, shut your bitch ass up. 40-month subscriber with this Islamophobic trite, dude. First of all, The 72 virgin shit is literally just like some of the most extremist Salafists out there. It's not even a thing that, first of all, Shias don't believe that. That's number one. Number two, Sunni Muslims don't believe that by and large either. It's just like a fucking idiotic American talking point. Not today, CIA. New poll in the Michigan race is Stevens at 27, McMorrow at 25, and yeah, I mean, this is not good. This is not a good poll. El Sayed being at 23 is not good. We got to fucking work on that. But obviously, like the AIPAC money is flowing into this fucking race. Undecided sweep. Most Americans don't know anything about Islam. Yes. We will continue. Where were we? Of course, a limited portion of this retaliation has already taken concrete form, but until it's fully realized, this file will remain open above the others. As far as the current conditions allow, sufficient measures must be defined and implemented to compensate for the financial losses inflicted on personal property and premises. In any case, we will take reparations from the enemy. If it refuses, we will seize as much of his assets as we deem appropriate, and if that is not possible, we will destroy an equivalent amount of its property. Our neighbors must clarify their position regarding those who have attacked our beloved homeland and killed members of our people. I recommend that they shut down those bases as soon as possible, because by now they must have realized that America's claim of establishing security and peace was nothing more than a lie. So this part is also important because these are basically the demands being made, right? And these demands being made are echoing what Ali Larjani has said so far, echoing what the president has said so far. So it's very clear that all of the conversations that were taking place in the last couple of days about like whether there is unity or chaos amongst the mechanisms of control. Is the IRGC in charge? Is the Ayatollah in charge? Is the three-person council in charge? All of that, all of the confusion surrounding that stuff has come to an end because every single person that is now communicating what the desires of the Islamic Republic are in this tit for tat back and forth are identical, right? They're all saying the same thing. These are the demands that have been echoed by numerous other figureheads, both those who are directly in charge of the IRGC and also in charge of civilian governance as well, like the president and the foreign minister, Arakshi, saying that we will demand reparations from the enemy for all of the incalculable loss of human life, saying that all of the regional actors in the Gulf that must make their positions known on continuing to align with America and Israel, a demand for American retreat from these bases, right? That was like a day one suggestion, and now it's turned into a full-blown demand. We share land or maritime borders with 15 neighboring countries and have always desired a warm and constructive relationship with all of them. However, for years, the enemy has gradually established bases, both military and financial, in some of these countries in order to secure its dominance over the region. During these recent attacks, some of those military bases were used, as we had clearly warned, and without taking any action against those countries themselves, we targeted only those bases. From now on, we will again be compelled to continue doing this if necessary, although we still believe in the importance of maintaining friendly relations with those neighboring countries. I repeat once again, the Islamic Republic system, without seeking to establish domination or colonial control in the region, is fully prepared for unity and warm, sincere mutual relations with all of its neighbors. Addressing the martyred former supreme leader, with your departure, you have inflicted a heavy grief upon the hearts of us all. You always longed for this end, and finally the Almighty granted it to you while you were reciting the Holy Quran in the morning on the 10th day of the blessed month of Ramadan. Going back to what we talked about before, as far not entirely true. This is literally the same. This is the identical position with China, okay? Oh, China wants regional dominance. China wants regional dominance. No, China wants regional cooperation, regional security. If China wanted regional dominance, this is the perfect opportunity for China to seize control over all of the other countries that America has used as a fucking fleshlight, right? So why are they not doing it? China wants stability. Iran wants the same. And this is a controversial position for me to say, because many other regional actors, specifically in countries that are either controlled by, Sunni Muslim leadership. You're talking about, I was saying that they had only hit the bases. No, they haven't only hit the bases. They've hit the bases and they've hit other like military, other places where like soldiers are in precise strikes. And in comparison to the American and Israeli casualties in Iran versus Iran's retaliatory strikes in the Gulf nation states, the number of civilian casualties are literally not even comparable, right? Oftentimes, we have this assessment here in the United States of America that our enemies are actually not abiding by the rules of war. And in many instances, there are instances where they don't, right? There are instances of resistance groups that end up killing a bunch of civilians. October 7 is a great example of this, right? It's true. This happens. But in comparison to the American and Israeli strikes that kill civilians with impunity, it's not even a comparison that you can make. They do abide by rules of warfare in comparison to what we do. That's just the truth. This is why a comparison between Ukraine and Russia versus Israel's conduct in Gaza is a silly one, okay? And the reason why I use Russia in this example is because Russia is the one country that is a regional actor, a sovereign power, a regional superpower that has actually done a fuck ton of violent things in Ukraine. And yet even then, it's not comparable to what Israel has done in Gaza. This is just objectively the truth. This is not someone who is defending Russia whatsoever. Okay, I am not defending Russia in any way, shape, or form. Okay, having said that, however, there is a reason why when you look at the civilian death tolls in Russia's conduct in Ukraine, as opposed to the civilian death toll in Gaza, there is a different military objective. It's clear. Like, look at the numbers. And this is a country that has actually engaged in a litany of war crimes in their conduct. Russia has done a fuck ton of war crimes in Ukraine, okay? Targeting civilian infrastructure, killing a bunch of civilians, killing children, and even displacing civilians and replacing civilians that used to live in the territories that they previously occupied. There are a bunch of things that Russia has done that are objectively war crimes, right? They reach the standard of war crimes 100%. And having said that, it's still not even remotely comparable to what Israel has done in Gaza. And the same goes for Ukraine as well. Like, albeit marginal in comparison to the death toll that Russia has committed in Ukraine, civilian death toll. But you know, in retaliation to that, Ukraine has also tried to do its very best to make this military campaign as costly as possible, and at times has also struck, civilian infrastructure like bridges, things of that nature. But having said that, once again, nothing in comparison, right? And significantly to a lesser degree than what Russia has been able to do in Ukraine, of course. Unfortunately, the normies will never understand a comparative argument because their ears close as soon as they hear a negative thing about their oppressive government. Yeah. They've hit civilian airports, they've hit oil tankers, they've hit oil depots, they've hit GCC government buildings. They're either targeting non-U.S. targets as well or targeting is disrupted. And that's what I mean when I say it's not entirely true. It's not a comparison of Iran and Israel or making a slight at Iran. Yes, they have. They have hit civilian airports that also carry fucking, oil tankers and refueling fighter jets for the American military campaign. When you are a country like Iran, you have to make every single piece of munition count. America and Israel, on the other hand, don't need to restrain themselves at all because, one, they have full command over international institutions, as you have seen in the UN General Assembly. And two, they have virtually unlimited supply of offensive capabilities as opposed to Iran's offensive capabilities. Offensive capabilities that do have the tendency to get deteriorated by Israel and America's steady bombing campaigns in areas where they reach air superiority, albeit for a brief moment in time. They have to make it count. America doesn't. They could just do unlimited strikes. America can stand to lose a fuck ton of MQ-9 Reaper drones, for example. They can loiter over Iranian territory and just like blow shit up nonstop. It's simply it's a matter of capability. Like, I'm sure if Iran had the same capabilities, they would I don't know what they would do, right? If they had the same capabilities, maybe they would be just as destructive, right? So what I'm talking about is a case of like what limitations exist, like what hard limitations exist on waging a defensive war, right? Part of it also stems from the fact that America is so far removed from the conflict. Anyway, Ayatollah Moshtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Revolution, concludes his first message: "You people led the country. The insight and wisdom of the great nation of Iran in the recent events, along with its steadfastness, courage, and presence, made friends admire and enemies astonished. It was you, the people, who led the country and guaranteed its power." So that was, that was the short and sweet of it. A summarization of like the demands being made. It's still a regional war, though. Also, do you think Iran will be forced to test a nuke to stop America and Israel escalating the war more? I don't think they would do it now. I think it's an inevitability that Iran will get a nuke. I think the calculation right now in the short term is to damage the global economy hard enough, damage American assets hard enough to cause them to retreat, to cause them to not go up the escalation ladder or force them into a de-escalation, or invite them into boots on the ground military warfare, which will absolutely be destructive both for Iran, but certainly for the American troops, right? That's also part of the reason why they keep saying, come on, bring a naval asset into the Strait of Hormuz to try to fucking move a tanker through. Like, they keep inviting that over and over again. In some ways, Iran is best positioned for direct invasion. They're best positioned for direct invasion by American forces because America has no logistical supply chain that they can create to consistently feed munitions and food and medical supplies for their soldiers if they were to make this mistake of invading Iran, a country that is basically a fucking fortress that has natural choke points that I suspect the Iranian weapons have been trained on for decades at this point, right? Because like this mountainous region in Iran, the topography of Iran makes it so that there are natural choke points that you have to go through, right? You have to bring your heavy weapons through, and that will cause the American military, that if they do invade, if they make this fucking gigantic mistake of invading Iran militarily, that will create an environment that's just like, it's a turkey shoot, right? Like the Iranian forces will fucking eviscerate so much of the American equipment. There's very little chance of an American success in that situation. Iran is not like Iraq. They have a competent military that has been training for this. They have a competent military that's actually been working on counterinsurgency initiatives in the region as well. Like, there is a reason why America thinks that they can invoke some kind of regime change from an aerial bombing campaign. But in the absence of any sort of popular mobilization on the ground, they will never be able to achieve that. Even in Libya, where this was primarily an air campaign with like bombing missions, they still had plenty of popular mobilization and forces that they could tap into on the ground, and a lot of anger and resentment from certain sectarian groups inside of Libya. In the absence of that, in the absence of like Kurds and the Balochis and the Sunnis living in Iran and some of the Persians or whatever, if they cannot activate these people, there is no way that they can achieve regime change. Which, by the way, won't even be fucking regime change. Let's be real. There is very little likelihood that a country with a 30% popular, social base is going to turn around and allow all these other ethnic groups to overtake the country and like piece it aside and balkanize it.
The rhetoric that we are hearing from Iran's new supreme leader is quite similar to his father's rhetoric. Remember, Iran's former supreme leader was taken out in the opening strikes of Operation Epic Fury when this war began. And in those opening strikes, Mujtaba Khamenei's wife, mother, and one son were also killed. Again, the latest remarks, though, that we are getting from the supreme leader via state media, and we are quoting Reuters here, indicate that he will continue ordering the attacks on U.S. bases in the region and continue efforts to close the Strait of Hormuz. Bill, Dana?
And Trey, as you pointed out, Iran's new supreme leader said that Iran has, quote, warm relations with Gulf countries. I'm curious, how do you think those Gulf countries are going to react to hearing that, considering Iran is droning and missiling them every day?
Yeah, I've been speaking with Gulf leadership and sources over the past 2 weeks, and I would not describe the current relations as warm between these two countries. Not only Qatar, but the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain have all come under Iranian ballistic missile and drone fire in recent days. And while the Iranians have attacked U.S. bases in the region, they have also attacked civilian infrastructure and energy infrastructure, including Omani energy infrastructure. We showed you those images earlier this hour of an oil storage facility in Oman burning as a result of an Iranian.
I don't know how we can say that all of Iran's attacks have been meticulously planned due to the scarcity when they've shot 2 rockets into Turkey, drones into Azerbaijan, and hit things like the Kuwaiti Ministry of Social Services. It's just more messy than Khamenei or we are suggesting. No, of course. That's what... I'm not saying it's fucking 100% precise. I'm simply saying that if you look at 2 countries that actually have precise targeting capabilities that have still double-tapped a fucking school in comparison to the death toll, the civilian casualty from the IDF side and the American side, Iran is 100% abiding by a code of conduct that is infinitely closer to the international rules of war, okay? That's all I'm saying. Of course they're not fucking fully following it. It's virtually impossible. This is not a defense of what they're doing anyway. There is a reason why in the first couple of days, everyone was like, why are they hitting these hotels? What the fuck's going on? They stopped asking those questions, if you recall. If you noticed, they stopped asking those questions. The Kuwait, the 7 soldiers that were killed in Kuwait were killed in a targeting operation that actually slammed a civilian port. They blew up a civilian port in Kuwait. Why did they blow up a civilian port in Kuwait? That's civilian infrastructure. Well, it turns out there was a command center in the fucking middle of the goddamn civilian port. Like, this is literally what Israel projects all the time. Whenever they say, oh, Hamas is hiding under hospitals. Hamas is hiding under, civilian infrastructure. We have to blow up the civilian infrastructure. Well, in this case, like, they literally were there. They died in a container that was in the middle of a fucking civilian port. Yeah, probably my initial statement was just saying Khamenei wasn't totally accurate when he said they were only hitting bases. That's not accurate. Nobody compared actions of Iran or Israel. Iran was violating. Yeah, of course. Of course, they're not 100% accurate, and they're not just hitting the bases. They also suggested that they might hit the banks, right? Because when the enemy is going up the escalation ladder and hitting oil refineries like Israel did, then Iran retaliates by striking oil refineries, right? If Israel and America starts hitting banks like they did, then Iran says, we might actually hit banks. We might hit banks in the GCC. Okay? Americans are bazookaing apartments near my parents, bro. Yeah. So hitting banks in the GCC, they have not done so, if I'm not mistaken, so far. Like, the reality is, if America was a regional actor, if the United States of America was where Turkey is, for example, I'm sure that they would be targeting, American installations in, wherever Turkey is. If America was where Turkey is right now, they'd be hitting fucking banks in America. But the reason why they can't do that and they're hitting the GCC is because that's within reach. That's it.
Drone attack. And remember, Oman was the mediator in the negotiations that were taking place earlier this year indirectly between the Americans and the Iranians. And so the current relationships are not good between Gulf countries and the Iranian regime. And despite the fact that some communication has taken place with Iran's foreign minister reaching out to his Gulf counterparts, these attacks against Gulf countries do continue.
Trey, yesterday, even on the 5, we were saying, is there proof of life that we could get that this guy is still alive? There are reports also that he was injured. Do you know anything more about that?
Yeah, I spoke with an Israeli intelligence official in recent days who indicated Mojtaba Khamenei is injured. They downplayed the reports, though, that he was critically injured, saying that he was injured in one of the strikes, the opening.
No evidence that Iran attacked Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Oman oil yet. Okay, the other side of the story is that you cannot take everything that the Iranian government is saying at face value either. Iran and Russia has done this at times too. They have accidentally blown up shit that they didn't intend to blow up. Okay, this is not like just because they're saying that they didn't do this and just because they're denying it doesn't mean that that's actually accurate. Okay, there could have been a rogue element within the IRGC. This is a likelihood, especially with the current limitations that they have in terms of centralized command in the Mosaic defense structure. You can have a rogue IRGC striker decide to fucking blow up the Omani refineries. Okay, that can happen. A misinput, okay, a misclick, you know? So we don't know. We don't know yet. There will be more investigations that will be conducted in the upcoming days, and we'll have more information. Having said that, as far as like the weight of those statements from the Iranian side, the only one that I definitely don't think was like a misinput and actually was most likely a psyop would be the Omani one, because as far as all of the regional actors goes, like Azerbaijan, there's some evidence that the Azeri airspace is being utilized by Israeli fighter jets, right? And they're entering the Iranian airfields by way of Azerbaijan. There's also American bases in Turkey. So like that one does make sense as far as like whether it's a rogue actor or whether it's like Iran deliberately doing it just to like create chaos or whatever. But the Omani one is the one that makes the least sense. That's why when as far as the strikes that have taken place that like don't make a lot of sense, or expanding the theater of war for Iran, the Oman one is the one that I consider to be the strangest one, especially because out of all the GCC states, like Oman is the one that is the closest to Iran, even closer than Qatar is, and Qatar has a fucking gas field that they share with Iran. Okay, that's the reason why people say like Qatar is the number one op of Israel in the region, that kind of thing, right?
Strikes of Operation Epic Fury, again, that killed his wife, his father, of course, and one son. As we look forward,
also the Omani people are the chillest.
And to that, Jane, I will say he mentioned.
It would not be very chill. It would not be very cash money of Iran to strike Oman like that, especially considering how fucking chill they are. Like how unimaginably chill I mean, dude, look at this guy. Like even from the fucking photo, cool as a goddamn cucumber. The Oman oil fields are weird to hit, but they also have U.S. military bases, which strikes me as weirder as Turkey, which almost has definitely not been used to attack Iran. Also, Omanis are chillers through and through. Yes, they're vibe maxing unks. Rub phase. Okay. Oman says war on Iran is meant to block a Palestinian state and reshape the Middle East. Foreign Minister Saeed Badr al-Busaidi said the real objective of the war is to weaken Iran, reshape the region, and push the normalization agenda, including efforts to prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state. True. He said Oman will not join the Board of Peace and will not normalize relations with Israel. True. Al-Busaidi warned the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran are a part of a dangerous chain of violations that could undermine the legal framework that has provided regional stability for decades. True. He said Iran is not the only target, adding there is a broader plan targeting the region, and Iran is not the only target. Many regional actors are aware of this, but they are betting that aligning with the United States may push it to revise its decisions and policies. Oman is seeking to stop the war and return to diplomacy, warning the conflict could drive higher oil prices and major supply chain disruptions globally. Al-Busaidi said the war may end soon, but called for reconsidering Gulf security strategies and preparing for the worst-case scenarios. Remarks were made to editors of several Omani newspapers and highlighted by analyst Rami Khoury. This also is uncharacteristic of the Omanis to say, okay? They are not known for making statements that either step out of line within the GCC, or even statements that objectively side with Iran. Like, they are the mediators. They are literally the I'm apolitical group in the GCC. Oman is the apolitical Andes of the Gulf. So for them to come out, and not hit a like straight middle of the road approach after they've been fucking struck by what the Western media is calling Iranian strikes is a pretty solid indication of where the Gulf states might actually lean once this bout of conflict ends. Do you understand? Does Oman have a U.S. base? I didn't realize that Oman had a base that has some U.S. troops in it, but it's like mostly a Royal Air Force base, from what I understand. Like, Oman is the Gulf, the Gulf critical, okay, the moist critical of the Gulf. This is Oman putting on a black T-shirt and saying the Gulf situation is crazy. Okay. Oman is not neutral. I recognize what they're doing. Yeah, this is them kind of dropping neutrality a little bit. The Gulf situation is crazy. Anyway, Oman decided that they didn't have to be Sunni or Shia, but a secret third thing. Omanis are predominantly Ibadi Muslims. They know what it's like to be a minority in the region as well. Yeah. They're chillers. Anyway, Qatar is Asman? Fuck no, that's not true. No, I would say Dubai is Asman Gold. Except Dubai showers more and has like a more has a more appealing shine to all the cryptocurrency perverts and pedophiles alike. Just like worm-like individuals that fucking behave like Littlefinger, where they're just like, oh yeah, well, we're a Muslim country, but also Islamophobia. The real enemy is Muslims. The real enemy is Muslims. Let's go and purchase every fucking right-wing, white supremacist, anti-Islam actor in Europe and in America. Anyway, you don't have to worry about that any longer anyway. It seems to me like, yeah, Qatar is Dr. Jihad. No, Qatar is more like Ludwig. Spiritually, they're on the right side, but they can hit a coworker take every now and then where you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. Anyway, he not going to the funeral? Yeah, unlike coworker wig or Chudwig, I think Qatar would go to the funeral, but that's a different point. Visit us in Oman. I'll show you Omani hospitality, brother. There's not a very high likelihood that I do that anytime soon. Okay, maybe once the region cools down. Yeah, we don't have to worry about Dubai any longer though, because it kind of feels like the idea of Dubai has been successfully killed. Dubai is finished. Expats say they will leave and never come back as tax-free dream is shattered by war and officials begin prosecuting people for posting videos of missiles. So a lot of people don't realize that, like, there is this shine, there is this patina in the Gulf, that these are like, prosperous nations that have, like unlimited freedoms. They're very Western aligned, all this stuff. And they don't realize that, like, in Dubai, for example, in the UAE, you literally cannot criticize the state of fucking Israel. And they're shocked when they find out. You can't criticize Dubai, you can't criticize the UAE, and you cannot criticize the state of Israel in fucking the UAE. Okay? A lot of people might not have known that until recently. And they are finding out in perhaps the worst ways possible, where Dubai is quite literally prosecuting people who have filmed the strikes. So all these expats that are massively consequential for the Gulf states, because not only for like tax evasion purposes, not even for, foreign capital flowing into the country, but these are the guys that also operate like the oil rigs, the refineries, the ones that control like, the IT and shit. Because let's be real, okay? For many of these people, for many of the people that live there, okay, the nationals are, they don't do a lot of this work, okay? The nationals don't do a lot of this work, and the immigrant workers don't do this work either. It's the expats that do this work. Like the people that work in these companies in the oil refineries that know how this shit know how this shit ticks. If they leave, All these countries are fucked. And for the record, it's been that way for years, right? Like both in Saudi Arabia, both in Dubai, even in places like Qatar. Like there are the expats that live there, the immigrants that live there that also need, English speaking Westerners to educate their children. Sucking Iran's dick, Hassan. I like that we just do the same thing over and over again. We're constantly in a state of like people coming in here and saying that about Hamas for the last 2 years, only to then agree with me. And this time now, in this new conflict, in this new iteration of the same fucking conflict, if you want to think about it that way, now it's stop sucking Iran's dick, only to inevitably arrive at the same conclusion once again. Do you not get bored? Do you not get bored of being professionally on the wrong side of everything? At a certain point, you have to feel a sense of shame, right? Same exact arguments, same exact bullshit. Yeah, this is what I saw as well. Israeli army, no, you can't destroy Hamas. Hamas is an idea, and an idea cannot be killed. IRGC, we are going to kill the idea of Dubai. Done in 2 weeks. I think that's the difference between Saudis and Iranians. Saudis are lazy, fat fuck, slop, hedonists, incapable of working, so they sold the sovereignty and dignity of the U.S. to work for them. Iranians are educated and capable of doing work, so they refuse to have foreign capital leeching off them. Okay, we're getting into like a crazy analysis here, okay? America has also dominated Saudi Arabia. Western interests have dominated Saudi Arabia. Iran has always refused that kind of Western domination and wanted to be treated as equal actors. Okay, stop orientalizing these people. Even if the results suggest what your assessment is, the reason why that difference in how these countries operate exists is because when Saudis refused, they got regime changed.
And reparation.
Iranians, on the other hand, had a successful revolution.
And compensation a few times, that we are going to get compensated, however that looks like, from the aggressors, in this case, the United States and Israel. He also said something very interesting that I was reading along in Farsi. He said, we are going to open other fronts if need be. And what
Trump
does that
is live
mean?
again?
Is that
oh,
the
my
front,
goat, my king. My president is live. Oh my God, my president and the first lady is live.
Incredible women.
They're doing Women's History Month.
The strength of America is closely tied to the role women play in shaping their...
Iran is still capitalist. Same with South Africa. It's just the difference is they're anti-imperialist. True, exactly. But it's like Hamas. It's like saying Hamas is not a fucking, communist formation. It doesn't fucking matter. Their goals are sovereignty and dignity for their people, okay? It's understandable emancipatory desire that they're following along currently. Yes, that's how she sounds. You guys didn't watch the Melania documentary?
To balance career ambition and family. We all know this incredible...
Kind of feels like you guys didn't watch the critically acclaimed Melania documentary.
America's workforce now more than ever before. As a visionary, I know success.
95% of skilled labor in GCC is foreign workers. They're actually cooked. That's not true. This is the only case in Qatar and the UAE. KSA has enough of a population to fill most of these positions. Not the same for Qatar and the UAE. Oman and Bahrain are not developed enough to have those industries, for example.
My passion, listen to my instinct, and always maintain a laser focus. In solitude, my creative mind dances, filling my imagination with originality.
In solitude, my creative mind
demanding
dances.
Schedules and multitasking are everyday realities.
Dude, get ready for the sweatiest reactionaries. The sweatiest fucking reactionaries being like, oh, you're making fun of an immigrant, dude. You're making fun of an immigrant woman. Oh, what happened to woke? Well, suck my dick. That's what happened.
Served as a producer, managed post-production, and activated the marketing campaign. Curiosity is a core value that keeps me ahead of the curve. Curiosity begets knowledge, opening doors to ideas and industry that I have otherwise overlooked. This unrestricted mindset has led me to build across very different sectors. fashion, digital assets, publishing, accessories, skincare, commercial television,
Accessories.
and of course, filmmaking. The lessons,
This is for international, this is the Women's History Month event.
such as how to build a brand, create superior product design, and activate an advertising campaign remains just as
You are
relevant
not
today.
ready.
Markets evolve, technologies change.
You do
but
not
the
understand
fundamentals
a girl
of
boss
thoughtful
queen.
leadership and continuous learning are
Yeah,
everlasting.
she's honoring herself for Girl Boss Women's Month, which is awesome.
Entrepreneurs and future leaders, make time for yourself, educate yourself daily, and spread your passion. Be courageous and take risks. Advance your profession.
There's nothing funnier to me than a white nativist movement that is shepherded by two people with, like, you know, not white American wives. For the record, JD Vance's wife is Indian. These guys are supposed to be Nazis, okay? They're supposed to care about, like, legacy Americans, but they don't give a shit about it at all. And same with Donald Trump. Like, Donald Trump's wife is like a visible immigrant, okay? She is visibly an immigrant. So funny that these guys don't even have a principled stance on white supremacy and white nativism in general.
Well, thank you very much. Movie star, can you believe this? Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
That wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to have a nice, normal life. But she's terrific and big success. And I think it was #1 last night streaming. It went on streaming last night. It was #1. So I don't know. Maybe she's getting a little too big for the White House. We'll have to think about it. Anyway, thank you.
Oh
honey.
my God.
She really is something.
This is
I wanna
fucking awesome.
really congratulate you.
Okay, look, I will say also, this is very third world. Okay? Like, this right here is aesthetically very third world. To have, like, to set up, like, all of these, like, transparently corrupt schemes to give side deals for your immediate friends and family, and to just be like, my wife, she's a movie star. This is the full Turkification of America. Straight up, Turkey was the method, okay? I never thought I would see the fucking day where not the first country that I've, lived in and existed, but now the second country that I've lived in and existed in for almost half my fucking life has basically turned into Turkey. It's incredible. Okay?
The situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well. Our military is unsurpassed. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we're doing what has to be done. Should have been done during a 47-year period. Could have been done by a lot of different people. They chose not to do it. But they really are a nation of terror and hate. And they're paying a big price right now.
Masa biziz. Amerika'da
We're
masa
honored
oldu.
to be joined by many extraordinary ladies, working moms, and amazing women who are.
Bekle, Amerika'da ekmek 500 lira olacak amına koyayım.
I want to thank Second Lady Usha Vance, who's a fantastic person. Where is Usha? Usha?
Amerikalılar pilav üstü döner 500 lira olduğu zaman anlayacaklar Türkiye'nin yaşadığı realiteleri.
And really, you have been such an inspiration to a lot of women. Usha, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And your husband's doing a good job.
Usha.
The youngest and perhaps the best White House press secretary in history. Caroline, where's Caroline? Doing a fantastic job, Caroline. She keeps me straight. She keeps you, no, sir, you can't do that.
I want to thank Jeffrey Epstein. R.I.P. Rest in peace to Jeffrey. He introduced me to my beautiful wife, Melania. R.I.P. to Jeffrey Epstein. He was a good guy. Misunderstood by many.
Got some big things in store. She's doing a great job. Thank you, Pam. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. Thank you, Lori. Thank you very much. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, who just...
This, by the way, also showcases the hollow, the hollowed out, very shallow nature of aesthetics-focused identity politics, right? Because Donald Trump does have a lot of high-powered women in his cabinet. Okay? So this once again proves white feminism can be used as a reactionary ideology, and oftentimes is a reactionary ideology. This shows once again that fascists can always utilize the same standpoint epistemology to get their goals across, that reactionaries can always utilize the exact same identity markers time and time again. You have to be more fucking woke than this, okay? That's it. This right here is a perfect indication of pink washing and a totally shallow understanding of what identity politics is supposed to suggest. It's also one that, let's be real, centrist liberals have deployed against their left flank over and over again. And the same goes for now Republicans doing this against the rest of the country. Okay?
Thank you. A friend of mine, a very talented person too, very smart, Victoria Sparks. We argue, but we always come to the same place. Doing a good job. And of course, Kellyanne Conway. Has anyone ever heard of her? She's fantastic. She's in there fighting.
Look at all the women. Look at all the women in positions of power doing the bidding the bidding of the patriarchy, doing the bidding of fascism, doing the bidding of like some of the most reactionary movements out there.
Oh, with the media, it's one of those things. But thank you, Kellyanne. And also, I want to thank the New York Stock Exchange and the person who is so instrumental in its great success, Lynn Martin.
Yeah,
thank
one
you
of the
very
most
much, Lynn.
exaggerated versions of this, of course, is, and this is a correct assessment here, I genuinely think part of the reason dark woke is thriving is because Israel commits genocides and kills children without second thought while simultaneously doing this corporate feminism nonsense.
As a woman, so I'm not here to watch history from the side. I'm here to build it. Happy Women's Day.
There you go. That's it. When contradictions worsen to this degree, even people who are like well-intentioned liberals who have thought that the only way to demonstrate their good politics and their morality is through shallow identity realize that there is a major problem there, that some of these people that are committing these atrocities can also adorn themselves with this like totally ridiculous progressive veneer. Okay? It's just aesthetics at that point. You have to look at form and you have to look at function. But many liberals, unfortunately, only look at form and never look at function. And if that's what you do, if that's your analysis as well, this is unfortunately it's a massive blind spot of liberalism. You know, feminism as a tool of propaganda without intersectionality, right? Feminism is a tool for reactionary opinions like this, a marketing tool for those who are committing heinous crimes, right? Margaret Thatcher being the girl boss spokesperson of white feminism, for example. Like when you lean into that, you can get duped easily. But because those people, those very same people that are committing these heinous atrocities are the ones who are also trying to market themselves as like beacons of feminism, all of a sudden people go, wait a minute, what the fuck? What do you mean girl boss female pilot? Like the girl boss female pilot is killing women on the ground with their bombs. Why the fuck should I actually care about the female representation in this circumstance? Who gives a fuck? Right? And yes, that is part of the reason why I think woke 2.0, although we joke about it, doesn't lean into the same like aesthetic emphasis as woke 1.0 certainly did. It was the bread and butter of woke 1.0. Resistance liberalism really leaned heavily into these aesthetic markers, like, oh, you're coming after a woman. This predisposition that we have towards standpoint epistemology, constantly leaning into diaspora populations that might have incredibly reactionary perspectives, people that are justifying imperialism, people that are justifying endless bloodshed.
Waitress in Hendersonville, North Carolina, great place. And thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, she got a big, beautiful tax refund of $4,000 this year, which she didn't expect. And Heather, please come up and tell us how excited you are to receive that. Come on up, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today. I have been a waitress for over 20 years, and a lot of the people I've seen come and go in the industry are single moms, and they work hard.
And they're
the hardest working people I know.
They
And then
love fighting for oil in Iran. And they say, "Am Israel high?" And I'm here to tell you that we are very happy with the tax cuts that we are receiving, even though the price of an oil barrel is going to be $200 next week. All of that is worth it. I am a working class woman, and I say I love Donald Trump. He is my president. He has my back. Please believe me.
Thank you. Also with us is Nora Pruitt, a proud mom of 7 and a sheet metal worker from Baltimore, Maryland. You
must understand, all of this is specifically designed so that when someone like myself comes out and says, "Oh, what the fuck is this? This is just pure propaganda. Who gives a shit," right? They turn around and say, "Oh, you must hate women." And you have to be strong when that happens, because that is an inevitability, because that is the reason why they've designed this propaganda, right? And when that happens, and when people push back, be strong. Be strong and say, what do you think the real problem is here? The fact that, women are being recognized, or the fact that women are being used for propaganda for an objectively unpopular president that does not give a shit about women?
Okay, with great match. I got a huge promotion to set up a wire forming machine. We only use USA steel, and we only make in the USA. With the big, beautiful bill, we were able to buy one of the most expensive tools our factory's ever bought. Within that, it totally changed our lives. We were able to buy a 5-bedroom home on an acre of land. I just want to.
Wow. That's pretty good, huh? So we have another person that I'm going to introduce. They said, "You mind bringing up 5 people?" I said, "Not really, but it's a lot." Then I looked at him and I said, "How about some more like that? We want more." But thank you. It's great. Great job you did. Another working mom benefiting from our policy.
He's shocked that a working class woman is capable of purchasing fucking land at all or purchasing a home at all. He's like, "Wow, I guess I haven't been fucking you over hard enough, huh? I guess there's more room."
Better, Pam. I say, "Sir, that's not the exact." I said, "Don't worry about it. It'll be just fine." Great, big, beautiful bill, because that's what it is. And the $12 billion in farm relief we issued using...
As a serial rapist and a serial pedophile, does anyone actually believe this shit? No. This is only just to reinforce the true believers. This is not going to convert the non-believers, right? This doesn't convert the non-believers at all. This only reinforces and reaffirms the true believers, right? And then it causes the true believers to lean into this kind of propaganda, to go to people like ourselves, go to people like myself, go to people like yourself, to say, "See, the president loves women. You called him a rapist, but he loves women. How dare you talk shit about my beautiful president?" That's it. It's just for the cult.
So beautiful. How are you? Nice to see you. Come on in.
Hi, my daughter June had to join me. She was not one to stay.
Oh.
As a wife of a second generation Virginia.
Where do the true believers go after Trump? It's going to be fucking awesome. Okay? It's going to be amazing to watch. Oh, what a sight to behold that will be when every single vulture in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, just like every single vulture in the conservative media ecosystem, started fighting against one another and battle lines were drawn. Imagine that happening on the national scale. Okay? You will have hardliners. You will have those who lean into the isolationist side, the anti-Israel side. They will go to Tucker. I think Tucker is spiritually the best person to basically be the leader of the MAGA movement. But the establishment Republicans will not allow that to happen. And there will be the Peter Thiel elite techno-billionaire, techno-feudalists that will want J.D. Vance to carry the torch. The neocons will want Marco Rubio, and they'll all fight amongst one another. It will be glorious.
were being lost all over the country. They were being taken away from the banks. And we ended the death tax. We ended it for the farmers, for manufacturers, and small businesses. So you're not going to be losing your farms anymore. Okay? It's going to be a long time from now, many, many years, 70, 80 years, but it's just going to have no tax to pay, okay? It's going to be in a long time. Thank you very much.
To be fair, that is if we even get there at all, because this country might collapse before we even get there. Let's be real. That is a very real, likely alternative as well.
10 months in a row. Think of that, 10 months in a row. 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States, which is an amazing number. In 1 year, we've seen the largest decline in murder, in the murder rate, in 125 years. It's back to the year 1900. That's before my father was born. He never liked talking about age. He probably would hate me saying that, but it was before, way before my father was born. And 125 years, the lowest number of murders. And part of that is what we've done with your department, Pam, and what we've done with some other departments. And Homeland has been amazing. So many people have worked so hard. You know, Washington, D.C. did not have a great reputation for security and safety. And now, as you know, it's the single, well, let's just say it's real safe. Because somebody's going to have to be very careful with the fake news media. They will say, well, wait a minute, there was a place in Tennessee that was slightly, it's gone from a very dangerous place where a lot of bad things happen to one of the safest cities in the country. You can come here now, and we've had an amazing record. It's been incredible. It's a real turnaround. Likewise, Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of problems. The mayor called, the governor called, and we went out and did a job. And in 3 months, crime is down 74%, and we'll get it down even beyond that, much beyond that. It was very quick. But I also deployed the National Guard to bring back safety to Memphis and New Orleans and all these other places, and they have done some job. What great people they are. Our capital is now considered, in fact, here's a stat, the safest capital anywhere in the world. How about that? We went from probably the most unsafe. I think we went from the most unsafe to certainly one of the safest. And here today is an outstanding female law enforcement officer keeping her community safe, Sheriff Michelle Cook from Clay County, Florida. Great place, Florida. Come on up. Michelle grew up in a military family.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. The people that are mad at Zoran for doing this like Ramadan thing with influencers. What happened to separation of church and state? Oh, right. I forgot. That only applies to Christianity. Brother, what you are not looking for is secularism. What you are looking for is laicite, okay? As a Turk, I'm very familiar with laicite and the differences between that and secularism. Secularism is perfectly capable of allowing demonstrations of faith, okay? Secularism totally has room for demonstrations of faith, okay? What you want is the erasure of Muslims from public existence. You know, the French method, and in the past, the Turkish method. This is not a woke perspective. My cousin lives in Memphis. She said the troops do nothing but stand outside state buildings. Bro, you are just making up words and sounds. Laicite is the abolition of any sort of demonstration of faith, oftentimes most commonly applied towards Muslims in Western nations and never really afforded towards Christianity at all. Same reason why people never actually give grief to Christian politicians in countries like France that have, you know, a cross or something, but constantly worry about any sort of optics that show Islam. Yeah. Laicite is the state enforcement of like atheism in principle, but more often than not is just simply deployed against Islam in Western nations. A hijab ban, but with an exemption for the cross. That would be a common modern application of laicite. Thank you, Chatter, for Wikipediaing it. Laicite is the French principle of secularism, formerly established in the 1905 law of separation of church and state. It mandates state neutrality in religious matters, ensuring no religion is recognized, funded, or privileged by the government while guaranteeing freedom of conscience. It restricts religious displays in public institutions like schools to maintain a neutral common space for all citizens. Okay? That's what it is in theory. Except laicite in action is is a burqa ban or a hijab ban, but no such bans that exist for crosses and whatnot. Okay? No, it's not just secularism. Oh my God, r/atheist dipshits are going to. Basically, was also the foundational principles of the Republic of Turkey. Okay, the Turkish Republic. In Western nations, in its modern application, it is utilized as a way to market. It is utilized as a way to market Islamophobic policies, anti-Islam policies. Okay.
Kellyanne, you couldn't get them to do it. I got them all to do it, and the calls lasted not even that long a period. I said, you got to do it because we were paying the highest price anywhere in the world for drugs and prescription drugs, and now we're paying the lowest price anywhere in the world. They had to agree to it. They did. They had to agree. They said it would be impossible to get. The drug companies had to get them, but they didn't care because they said, you'll never get the countries, but I got the countries quickly. I said, listen.
Just because it's being twisted doesn't mean it's a bad idea on the face of it. It is a bad idea in the face of it. America does not have true secular principles. I believe in true secularism, a complete separation of religious institutions and the state. That's what I believe in. But as far as like outward displays of religiosity, I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't factor in. As long as it doesn't factor into whatever mechanisms of the state that exist, whatever regulatory mechanisms of the state that exist, then yeah, believe whatever you want to fucking believe. I don't give a shit. You can practice openly. That's what secularism is. Any sort of restriction on religious displays in public is not a good thing. I don't agree with that at all. I do not agree with that. Should we tax religious organizations? Abso-fucking-lutely we should. Just like any other organization. But as far as a principled stance on freedom of expression and freedom of speech, I am a believer of that. Okay?
But when you look at what they did in Venezuela and now what they're doing in Iran, it's been amazing. But when you look at all of this, everybody was saying that this could never be done with the drugs. It could never be done. And in my first term, I was so proud of myself because I was able to cut the drugs 1/4 of a pence. Now, this doesn't sound so good, but I was proud. 28 years, drug costs went up, and it never stopped. Went up, up, up. And I had, in my third year, I cut drugs by 1/4 of 1%. And it was like a big deal because that never happened before. And I had a news conference. I announced that I cut drugs 1/4. It's the first time in 28 years. But now I cut drug prices by 80%, 75%. A low one, a bad one would be 50%. Think of it, 1/4 of a percent, I was happy. But you know, with experience, you learn. And these are the biggest drug price cuts this country's ever had by 25 times. And I think it's going to make a very big difference. All you great Congress people back there that helped me, it's going to make a great difference. There's never been anything like it. It's called Most Favored Nation agreements. I got them with all the countries. And so now instead of paying the highest price in the whole world, we're paying the lowest price in the whole world. So it's pretty good. And I'm very, very happy, very proud of that, actually. It should be the biggest story. I don't get any. Nobody wants to write about it. That's why I talk about it. They don't want to write about it. There was a little story like this in the New York Times. Should have been headlines. I picked up the New York Times. I said to my wife, oh, this is a big one. This is going to be front pages. I couldn't find a story. I said, oh.
All right, boring. I'm done with this. Let's get back to monitoring the situation.
In Iraq, the Kataib Hezbollah, as we know, they have militias in Iraq, Hezbollah in Lebanon as it's continuing its attack on Israel, and also the Houthis in Yemen. So he mentioned that, and I think that's an important message there. Again, tone and narrative tells us a lot, and having covered Iran for some time, I can tell you that what we saw had no undertone tone of peace negotiation, but rather we're going in full force. And in some ways, Jane, we can assume that they're not going to back down. I can tell you again from the readout and the message that this is the IRGC and the Sepah of Iran speaking. There's no sense of any pragmatic narrative in what we read and heard, and that the idea that folks like the National Security Council head Larijani or the Speaker of the Parliament Ghalibaf might be behind this is at this moment a bit slim. Rather, we are hearing the most hardline factions of the IRGC speak. And like we saw, in my opinion, from the Iran-Iraq war that took 8 years.
I just don't understand. Iran does not comprehend something fundamentally true here, which is, one, you are not supposed to strike back at America or Israel. And two, the war is over. America and Israel won. What do you mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. This is not how things are supposed to go. Okay? This is not how things are supposed to go. You're not supposed to hit back against American assets. You're not supposed to demand that they withdraw their troops from the region. Do you not know that? It's very strange. It's very strange that they keep striking back, which is, again, illegal. According to the United Nations General Assembly, it's literally illegal. Okay? It's illegal. We are condemning it. Everyone must condemn it, including the major partners of Iran, the great powers that are supposed to be aligned with Iran here, that abstained from voting at the UN General Assembly. I'm, of course, referencing China and Russia. Self-defense is illegal against the American state. You need to stop resisting. It's very strange. Very strange. They must be tankies. They must be cheating.
Conflict into a war of attrition. And my sense is that is the IRGC and the regime's strategy. We're going to continue with this conflict and have time tell who would be the winner.
So a message of defiance and a message also to show their strength, to show how strong they remain despite what has happened over the last 11 days or so.
Absolutely.
It'll be fascinating, won't it, to see American reaction to this. President Trump will not like it. He will not like the fact that they are clearly not backing down. They're clearly not doing what he thinks they're doing. And also the fact that they are saying that they will target financial centres as well as military ones.
Indeed, indeed. And mind you, Jane, another thing that stands out, we haven't seen Mojtaba Khamenei, we haven't even heard from him. And that begs the question of what's happening behind the scene, who's in charge. We have to be watching for one person, and I think we're going to hear his name, and that is Hossein Taeb. He was the head of IRGC intelligence. He is extremely close to Mojtaba Khamenei, and from what I'm hearing and reading, I can sense a lot of this high security intelligence rhetorics that very much are aligned again with the hardline factions. Last night, Jane, by the way, President Trump, in one of the stakeouts that we've seen from the president just in the past 24 hours, he said something interesting. He said, we have taken out Iran's leader twice. And again, I don't know if that is something that he perhaps misspoke. Was he referring to Qasem Soleimani, the IRGC head? But the idea that, again, we are not hearing a clear sense of the mission and objective and what was achieved, I think is something to look for when we potentially hear from the president.
And in terms of Mojtaba Khamenei's appearance, there will be those who will have said, they would have liked to have seen a video statement. They would like to see him speaking, because there has been speculation.
Maybe they're talking about how they hit Khomeini with a cancer gun.
That he has been injured over the past few days. What do we know about his health?
Quite frankly, not much other than the rumors that we've been hearing. Some have said that he might be in a coma. Some say, no, he's alive, but out of security concerns, he's in hiding. But, Jane, a nuance here is that the IRGC and the supporters of the Iranian regime are quite staunch, and in some ways, more than one have been emboldened. So for them, it doesn't even matter whether or not they see Mojtaba, whether or not he's alive. They are in this fight until the end. government. But then again, the rest of the people, a population that for the longest time wanted to move beyond this regime and quite frankly don't see the system no longer as a legitimized government, I think they are quite lost as to what the future holds. And I think with the more combative, aggressive rhetoric that we heard, that is in some ways more clear that this war is not going to end in the favor of the people of Iran, who are, in more ways than one, caught in the middle of this.
Yeah. With each day that goes by in this war, there's obviously all sorts of events and implications for the global economy and indeed the economy here in Europe. But let's just kind of give you an update. Past 24 hours, some of the big moments, big news events. 2 oil tankers set on fire just in the north of the Persian Gulf. One of them also further south, a Chinese container ship attacked in Jebel Ali, just outside of Dubai. The airports in Kuwait struck by drones, also airport attacks in Bahrain as well. And then also, perhaps even more concerning than everything else, just in the south of Oman, Salalah, an oil facility there attacked. Now, this is an area, as you can see, it's far outside of the Strait of Hormuz, which of course is the key issue here, not being able to get ships in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. And the new supreme leader of Iran saying that will remain closed. And all of that together is enough to concern people in the oil market, part of which is why the International Energy Agency has staged this unprecedented intervention, pumping an extra 400 million barrels of oil out into the market, or at least they plan to in the coming months. And a lot of that, I mean, this is bigger, you can see that, bigger than Ukraine in 2022, bigger than Libya, bigger than Hurricane Katrina, bigger than the first Gulf War, giving you a sense of just how concerned they are about what's happening right now. A lot of that, the biggest share, comes from America. So 172 million barrels coming from the US. But here's something interesting and perhaps concerning. If you look into the size of America's stockpiles, here's what you see, okay? So this is America's strategic petroleum reserve. And this is basically all of this oil that America has stashed away in various reservoirs around the US. And going back to the 1990s, so I mentioned the Gulf War, look, that was the point in the Gulf War where lots of oil was released from the US. Hurricane Katrina over there. You've got Libya in 2011. And the biggest of all of the releases of oil came in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But here's what's striking.
RIP World Cup 2026. Oh my God. I forgot about that shit, bro. I forgot. Your ops are using this to prove you are wrong. This is real. This is what's happening. Fuck, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even realize, bro. That's a straight shot, dude. That's a straight shot. Approximately 12,000 miles, dude, of open sea. Also, one thing that you guys haven't considered is Iran has already nuked Australia off the map, okay? Yeah, the back door was always open, and all of these other countries have been deleted. Iran did that shit, and now they're coming for Los Angeles.
Just look at where that line is now. Look at it compared with previous years. It is close to a historic low.
Joe Walsh is disappointed in Ro Khanna being your friend. I know. They are going on a tear on the timeline. Respectfully, my friend, you didn't say you'll go on Piker Stream. You said you proudly stand with him. As for Plattner, his explanations aren't honest. I'm all about engaging alternative media. I do it every day, but that doesn't mean I stand with them. Stand with views I find abhorrent. Actually, if you look at the tweet, I said I stand with Plattner and join Piker Stream. Please look at the original tweet. Also, you could say you stand with me too. You know, the reason why these guys are obviously afraid of saying that, including Ro Khanna, is because at the end of the day, they're worried I might say something in the future that will be associated with tweets like this. Whereas politicians, on the other hand, are, you know, much more careful and have much less room to engage in discourse. I'm not a politician. I'm unapologetic about my beliefs. And no, this is not a disavowal, chatter. This is the same thing that Zoran did too. I'm not a politician. It's very obvious that a lot of people are trying to actively turn me into like a figure worthy of vilification because they're worried about politicians coming here They're worried about that. What? Why don't they do this? Build up speed, cool backflip, hit trampoline, cool backflip, nail the landing. I agree. Ottomans did do this in 1453. It's true. This is real. This is real and true. So that's all this is. It's because they're worried about the pipeline. They're worried about the ideas that we represent. So they're trying to actively force a separation amongst like Democrats with ambitions of higher office, not realizing that the more our ideas spread, okay, the more our ideas spread, the more people actually define themselves with these ideas, the more people actually get the tools to communicate better about their ideas, to say, we are doing away with the old guard. We are doing away with the old way of doing business. We are no longer afraid to say that Israel must be. We are no longer afraid to say we are decoupling from Israel. Okay? This is not just a battle between the Zionist factions within the party and those who are critical of Israel. This is also a battle between the anti-capitalist forces in the base versus the neoliberal corporate hegemony defenders in the base. They do not control the party's base of support anymore. They still, however, hold on to the grip of power within the party's infrastructure. They still hold on to the leadership. They still hold on to most of the caucuses. And that's precisely what they're desperately trying to avoid. Because if more and more politicians behave like Zoran and openly communicate their feelings, openly lean into their popular mobilization, their base of support, openly lean into democracy and the democratic process and say, we're done with this. Israel is doing incalculable harm to the world. We have to stop. We have to stop this unholy allegiance that we have. We have to stop the genocide. We have to stop the apartheid. And we have to actually lean into the democratic wishes of our majorities. Okay? And the same goes for domestic policy as well when it comes to healthcare, for example. The same goes for domestic policy when it comes to not spending all of the wealth that we are creating here, all of our productive output on weapons of war, but instead on ourselves, focusing our productive output on developing this country, developing our infrastructure, developing our schools, in educational initiatives, building hospitals instead of blowing up hospitals. Okay? If we were to do that, if politicians were no longer afraid to say that out loud and lean into the democratic base that exists in the party, okay, then these guys would have no more power. And they are fucking terrified of that. Okay? What they do not understand is that I am but a mere vessel for this anxiety and this animosity and this anger. Okay? That's all I am. I'm a megaphone. You take me out of the equation, there is going to be 1,000 other people like me to take my place. And they're already out there. That's what these people don't comprehend. It speaks to my popularity in general. The reason why I'm popular is not because I've been able to single-handedly, hypnotize the Democratic base. Many of these people that share the same resentments, that don't know, that don't have the tools to communicate these resentments, have never even encountered someone like myself. They don't know who the fuck I am. You think the Barbaras and the Deborahs in the countryside that are also just as mad at the Democratic Party's incompetence, at the National Party's complacency, are angry because they encountered YouTube videos or thirst traps of mine? No, of course not. They see it on their own. They see it individually. Some of them actually do cut through the fuck Hassan propaganda and come here and realize, okay, well, this guy's actually speaking a lot of shit that I've been believing. That's the real issue. And the hyper focus from the consultant class in the commentariat and in the centrist flank of the neoliberal Democratic Party think that eradicating someone like myself or the influence that I have to demand my deplatforming or to demand that Democrats don't go on my stream or something are going to do away with the resentment. Okay? You're not solving the problem at all. All you're doing is leaning into apathy. You're leaning into and creating more and more voter apathy. That's all you're doing when you do that. That's what people don't understand. They think, weirdly enough, that I have this singular power. I do not. I do not have the capacity to hypnotize people. Okay? I do not have the capacity to brainwash people. The only thing I can do is channel people's frustration to a more productive angle, to explain to people, to educate to the masses who actually controls the levers of power. What is wrong with the system and its design? That's all I'm doing. But the frustration and the anger that people feel is real. So the option that Democrats have is twofold. Either they actively try to separate and sever ties with their left flank and the base of support and some of its primary communicators, people like myself, right? Or lean into it. And if they don't lean into it, and if they actively say, we are not this, we are actually a pro-Israel party, we are actually a pro-corporate sponsor party, we are a pro-billionaire party, and all these anti-billionaire voices, all these anti-corporate voices, all these anti-capitalist voices are not us, then someone else will take advantage of that messaging vacuum. And they already are. They already are. That's why Tucker Carlson gets a lot of prestige. That's the reason why Candace Owens has a massive audience. That's the reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene is seen as this like earnest figure now. That's the reason why James Fishback is getting all of this coverage from the New York Times. These are people who read the room and recognize that saying fuck Israel is actually an incredibly viable way to look like an earnest communicator. The third way neoliberals are ironically trying to actively, selfishly hold on to their grip of power in the party and destroying democracy in the process and allowing fascism to thrive in this country. They have allowed fascism to thrive in this country for years by constantly moderating to the center, okay? By consistently moderating to the center and allowing Republicans to win. This is the death blow for that movement, by the way. They have no popular base. They are just actively shrieking to a smaller and smaller, actively shrieking to a smaller and smaller constituency that doesn't exist. But they are desperately holding on to the levers of power in the party. That's it. But their end is near and they feel it and they recognize it, which is why they try to do their best to maintain a, as this chatter calls it, Keir Starmer Labor Party approach. Well, what came after is the Green Party's rise. Insulin Independence says, to spell it out explicitly for the staffers listening to this very conversation, Keir Starmer just did exactly what you're suggesting the Democrats in control could do, which is either tell their left flank to fuck off and leave. It is a great way to close the door on the Democratic Party and permit it to be replaced instead of taken over. Yeah, you can do that. You can do the Keir Starmer method. But if you do that, there will be a new movement that will be built by force. Either you lean into democracy and where your base is and welcome the left flank and allow the left flank to control the levers of power in the party, or you actively continue to push it aside and eventually you keep losing over and over again. Maybe some won't be. Maybe some of you will be spared. Maybe some of you will be spared. Maybe the fascists will spare some of you to keep you as a puppet. Okay? But many of you won't be. We'll all be in the same fucking concentration camps if you allow that to happen. That's it. Lol, this guy. Anyone who thinks I'm being hysterical here is not seeing the writing on the wall. Okay? It's that simple. Liberalism has failed. You cannot consistently concede to fascists over and over again and assume that you can salvage liberalism that way. It's failed. Now is the time to recognize which side you're on. Are you on the side of fascists? Are you on the side of anti-fascists? Jacobin released your lesbian-themed aura pic. It's funny. This moron isn't even American saying this. What is this? Your American supremacism is showing. Scratch a lib. You are the fascist Lamau. This is your worst take, Hassan. Abandon the Dems. What? Chatter. I don't think you understand. 38 minutes before this post, Ro Khanna bragged about sitting with an anti-Semitic streamer who compares Zionists to Nazis. AIPAC is the #1 defender of Nazism in the country. So, anyway, look. I understand that the Democratic Party currently is a liberal bourgeois party, okay? It is. But those who demand a party split right now do not understand where we are as a movement, okay? We currently do not have third-party viability. Many of you greatly overemphasize the power that I hold, the influence that I hold. You think I am singularly capable, or your favorite podcasters alongside myself are capable of building this third party right now. Before you unlock class consciousness, you cannot reach third party viability. You cannot reach a viable socialist party. Okay? You're just the reformist at heart? No, that's not true. I'm just someone who understands. Where America is, where Americans are. Okay? Some of you act as though there's a big red communism button on my desk and I refuse to hit it. Okay? I refuse to press it. It's right there and I refuse to press it. You have a difference in opinion than I do of how to build this movement. It's my birthday today. I would love a shout out. I'm a qualified social worker who leads with a revolutionary empathy and have attended many protests in the past couple of years, and you've been a massive influence and inspiration for me on my journey. Hell yeah. There you go, chatter. Here, I hit the communism button.
I'm gonna come.
In order to build a mass movement, you have to go to where the masses are. And you have to engage with the masses with political education. Some of the few institutions that we have, some of the few instruments that we have at this point also are revisionist movements, also are entryist movements. Those entryist movements do not always have to be entryist. They do not have to forever remain a vehicle for the Democratic Party. But this is something that Michael from Pennsylvania has also agreed to as well, especially with the recent momentum that the Green Party gained from electoral victories. Okay? This is the same. Kaya, stop barking. Kaya, enough. No one's at the door yet, and you're already barking because my food is about to be here. Chatters need to understand that we get to the big red communism button by sticking to our guns and infiltrating the institutions that have been working against our big red communism button while converting regular people every day. Yes, that's... Anyway, Kai is on sentry mode right now. All right. Let's continue.
Petroleum reserve. In other words, the biggest crisis in the oil market in recent history, which is what the International Energy Agency say this is, has happened at the point when the US has the least resources to be able to throw at it from its reserve. That's pretty striking, isn't it? And all of which has kind of contributed to what's going on with the oil price, which has been a complete roller coaster in the past few days. There it is at the end of last week. You can see the roller coaster started early this week, where it went up to about almost $120 a barrel. Donald Trump stepped in and said, no, the war is complete, and that kind of pushed it down a little bit. But then soon afterwards, it started to rise. And you can see even after the IEA released all of that oil into the market, or said they were going to, actually oil prices went up rather than down. And partly that's just because of all of this chaos that's still happening in the Persian Gulf even now. All of this raises the question, what are the implications going to be for the wider economy? You know that oil prices, when they go up, they push up petrol prices, which in turn pushes up inflation. And here's a pretty interesting, it's just an early estimate of how much higher oil prices and gas prices might push up inflation in various countries around the world. What the numbers are showing you here is how much on top of the existing forecasts. So the UK was forecast to have about 2% inflation. If it goes up by another 1 percentage point, then you're talking about close to 3%, raising the question, what does the Bank of England do there? But the other striking thing looking at this is just the variance. So Canada, for instance, it's relatively kind of small in terms of how much oil it imports from overseas. And so as a result, the inflation impact isn't so much. Whereas over here in China, you've got 12% of its imports are oil, and therefore just look at how high inflation would go above the forecasts in China. Similar story, by the way, if you look at just the potential impact on GDP, just overall economic growth. And the big picture here is, well, basically, for pretty much every economy around the world, this is negative. I mean, slight statement of the obvious there, but nonetheless, this is not a good thing when it comes to overall economic activity. The UK, weaker growth somewhat this year. This is all for this year, these numbers, and they are the numbers versus the forecast. So the forecast at the moment, kind of 1.5% or so percent, that's cut. But the US cut even more. And that then raises the question, you know, what does Donald Trump do in response to this? The US is much more dependent on oil than many other economies. So what does Donald Trump do in response? He doesn't want to see a downturn in the US, but that might well happen if this continues. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, what we're looking at here are the flight paths of various different planes going around the Gulf. This was the picture just before this conflict broke out. And keep an eye on the flights going over kind of Iraq, going over Iran. And now I'm just going to kind of show you what happened in the following days. So we're just moving from day to day. Look at these flight paths, and look at how basically they've just...
I think one of the things that people also don't understand is that all of the productivity gains go to the masses being urbanoid, libtard college students. Urbanoid, libtard college students have always played a formative role in revolutionary organizing. Historically, there's never been a singular moment in even countries like China, even countries like that engage in a successful revolution without those urbanoid, libtard college students. It's the peasants, it's the workers, and it's the urbanoid, libtard college students that make up the base. China was a majority-based peasant revolution. Really interesting that you say that, as though some of the most formative early CPC figures weren't fucking urbanoid, libtard college students, okay, which you neglect and mock as hogs. Shut your fucking MAGA communism bitch ass up right now. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't understand revolutionary history. You don't understand successful movement building. You think it's urbanoid, libtard college students are woke and gay, and therefore will never be able to play a formative role in building any sort of revolutionary movement because you're a fucking moron who is just as predisposed with culture war nonsense as the people that you think you oppose in the fucking libtarded Democratic Party. Okay? You're a fucking idiot. You don't know anything. Fuck. Speaking of urbanoid, libtard college students, oh shit. Almost got that fly. Oh yeah, the James Fishback shit. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Stopped. You're not seeing any flight paths around this region at all. And you're seeing far fewer going into Dubai and going into this area in the UAE. And you get a real sense of that if you look just at the level of flights into and out of the United Arab Emirates, so Dubai, Abu Dhabi and so on. After those attacks begin, just look at the extraordinary fall. It has gone from being, Dubai, for instance, which is by far the biggest airport here, has gone from being the biggest airport in the world to falling to near zero and barely recovering. And that's really the final question to kind of bear in mind as we just consider the impacts of this war. How many of these economic impacts are not short-lived, but last for a long time?
One thing that these guys are not factoring in is if you look at the price of oil, and this is like post-COVID, you should probably understand this. The price of oil does not go down. The base price of oil barrels stay at that level. Look at the oil crisis in the 70s, and you will understand. The base price of a barrel of oil never went down after, okay? Like, sure, the initial inflationary shock diminished, but the base price stayed the same. And the price of everything else also went up. Same with COVID. Because of corporate consolidation. Corporate consolidation makes it easy to engage in greedflation. Corporate consolidation makes it super easy for prices to stay as elevated as possible. There is no incentive to like rip those prices back down to reasonable levels.
Are you starting to think, if this does keep persisting as it is, that the Navy has to go into the Strait of Hormuz to help ships get through, which would have a big effect on.
Well, look, that was always in our planning, that there's the chance that U.S. Navy or perhaps an international coalition will be escorting oil tankers through. There are, in fact, tankers coming through now. Iranian tankers, I believe some Chinese flag tankers have come through. So we know that they have not mined the straits.
And was that what you were just discussing in the Situation Room?
We were discussing a plethora of things.
And is it your belief that the volume of ships going through the Strait of Hormuz will be improving immediately from now?
It is my belief that as soon as it is militarily possible, the U.S. Navy, and perhaps with an international coalition, will be escorting vessels through.
And that came up just now in the Situation Room?
Your words, not mine. But again...
Are we days away from that?
As soon as militarily possible. Oh, okay. So when is that? Tomorrow or 8 months from now? What will the global energy markets look like 1 month from now? What's the timeline for successful successful escort missions by G7 nations accompanied by the American naval assets to cross the Strait of Hormuz with oil tankers in tow?
We've been planning for this. We've done scenario analysis for months, for weeks, leading into this. So,
but it's a prospect in the coming days then?
It is a prospect as soon as we have complete control of the skies and are degrading they have no Air Force. The Navy is sunk, literally and figuratively. And
so why is the strait not open, big dog? If the Iranian Navy is sunk, why is the strait not open? I don't understand.
The munitions factories, the rebuilding capabilities for the missiles, completely degraded. So as soon as it is possible for to ensure safe passage, we will do it.
Wilf, what did you make of that? The Trump administration does seem to be on the back foot.
Well, I guess he was trying to frame it as if they're in the front foot. I mean, as it relates to passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, three things jumped out to me. Explicitly, he said there that the Iranians have not mined the straits and that some ships are already passing through. Implicitly, I think he added...
Yeah, Chinese ships and Iranian ships. Also, Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today. Who told you that the fucking mining of the Strait of Hormuz was bullshit? As soon as that article came out, what did I tell you? Bullshit. Just like what they're saying right now is also bullshit. The idea that they have a real plan. The idea that they have a real plan to open the Strait of Hormuz is bullshit. Believe me when I tell you this. They have no plan. They're completely fucked.
That the U.S. Navy, possibly backed by an international coalition, will be entering the straits in the days ahead to make sure that the passage of ships going forward is smoother than it already is. On a day when we look at oil prices up 10%, Brent, the international gauge, in and around $100, I think the market isn't expecting safe passage of ships in any meaningful way in the days ahead, which his implication there might suggest otherwise. We also discussed, Ali, the cost of this war. He revealed to me that so far to date, it has cost the United States $11 billion. I asked him if there was a number going forward which would require him to knock on the president's door and say, Mr. President, we can no longer afford this. And he said, absolutely not. He also spoke about the level of oil prices not really being the thing that affects the economy, but the duration of them being elevated where they were. But his position on the war, Ali, from the money man position on whether or not the economy can afford it or not was resolute. He said that they could.
Yeah, and I mean, it's this sort of news line that could move markets.
Yeah, we'll watch how oil prices react in the minutes and hours ahead. It was a long conversation. We had 50 minutes with him. We also spoke about Russia benefiting from the spike in oil prices. He said it was unfortunate that they're profiting so far. We spoke about the strained special relationship and, of course, how Keir Starmer's decisions specifically around the Iranian war have affected that trade.
You're in the
more
latest
broadly.
GI hit piece?
Some comments on Peter Mandelson, and all of that is coming up in a couple of hours at 9 p.m.
A lot of us who are Palestinian are, basically pleased that there is a regime in the Middle East that is a counterbalance to what would otherwise be Israeli hegemony. From our perspective, the only country that has ever been aggressive, that attacks its neighbors, that commits things like genocide, is Israel. It's not Iran at the end of the day. I'm sure you're thinking,
oh my God. Bro, what is happening? The wokening of the Brits has been genuinely surprising. Every time we watch a LBC clip, it is literally a liberal that is more based than the prior one. I don't understand. Oh my fucking God. It's always like the Barbers and the Debras too. I don't know what the fuck's happening.
oh my God, that's the most outrageous opinion you could ever hear.
No, I understand the
You're
logic.
coming from a purely Western-centric position. You can't imagine what it's actually like to feel like Israel and the West is more threatening to your existence than Iran is. But that's the lived reality of most people in the Middle East. We've got to be real about geopolitics. We have to have a mature understanding of the geopolitical moment we're in. The war is being carried out against Iran not because Israel or the US cares about the Iranian people and what they face from their own regime. It's being carried out to complete a job which started with Iraq, which is to dismantle every single anti-Western regime in the region.
The Iranians in the West.
Oh my God. What the fuck? Was that Professor Mersheimer? Like, what the fuck is that? She ate.
The diaspora. I'm not speaking on behalf of all of them, but a lot of them that I've been seeing and I've been hearing on LBC cheering on these bombs that have been dropping on our people, dancing in the streets. This is absolutely shocking. I can't fathom what is going through these people's minds.
Well,
James. You've got the United States, right, who have entered every country willy-nilly and gone about their business, acted like peacemakers, and then set up their oil companies and obviously profited from so much of war. Then you've got, the other hand, Israel, who have, let's be honest, have committed a genocide against these Palestinian people. And these Palestinian people have been defenseless for the last, 2 or so years. We've been seeing it on our TV screens. We've been seeing it on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. We've been seeing the devastation that these lot have caused. And these Iranians genuinely think that these two groups are going to give us peace and prosperity? Come on, man, seriously, wake up.
Let's touch about what I'm sure you were discussing in the situation.
That was fucking amazing. Oh my God. God save the fucking kingdom, yeah? Lads. Fucking hell, lads. The British are waking the fuck up, lads. Fucking hell. Wake up, lads. Seize control of your fucking destiny. Don't allow these fucking reformist cucks to destroy your sovereignty. Brits are still way better educated than Americans. I mean, we've only seen a couple. Brits. I don't know what the what the overall attitude is.
Details that I'm sure came up. WTI is obviously around $94, $95 as we're recording. It started the year under 60, briefly peaked at 114, 115 earlier this week. What level is too much for the U.S. economy to take?
Well, I don't think it's the level. I think it's probably the duration. If you recall, even in 2008, we had the record spike up to, I believe,
140 something,
147. So I think it's the duration, and I think that President Trump's energy policies have insulated the U.S. quite a bit. We're record liquids production with.
That's not even correct. It was literally, God. These guys are such assholes. I mean, first of all, it was because of fracking. And secondly, it did not happen under Donald Trump. It happened under Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. And as far as the LNG rerouting, that took place under Joseph Robinette Brandon. These are not things that I particularly care about because I'm, against American imperialism, against Western imperialism. But even from your perspective, this is just objectively cope. It was Obama and Joe Biden. For the LNG boom, it was Joe Biden that rerouted LNG to Europe away from the hands of Russian natural gas going into Europe. Literally blew up the fucking pipeline. Okay? When you educate the barbers and Debras on this stuff, they feel like they found out a secret and will gossip that info to other barbers is unreal to watch. Hell yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Crude and natural gas. Natural gas prices have been little affected, and a lot of that goes into the energy, the household bills. So, and again, President is focused on his mission of the wiping out the Iranian missile capabilities, their manufacturing capabilities, their Air Force, their Navy, and their ability to project power beyond their borders and to cut off the head of the snake as the leading architect of global terrorism.
You've obviously pledged to help in the insurance process for ships, with Lloyd's of London pausing on that detail. Big announcements in the last 24 hours about releases from strategic reserves from both the IEA and you as well. It hasn't worked in the short term on oil prices.
Well, no. Let's back up. The market lives in the future. So we got the oil spike on Sunday night, and I think maybe at one point we were up about the $30, and then overnight, the FT published that the IEA was considering a 300 to 400 million barrel release. And then we had the biggest single reversal in one-day history that day. So it was already priced in. So we had a G7 finance ministers meeting on Monday where it was discussed, energy meeting, ministers meeting yesterday, and then, Tuesday, and then yesterday, I was in the Oval with the president for the leaders meeting, and the leaders confirmed that it would in fact be a 400 million barrel release, which is the largest in history.
Yeah, I fully accept that. The news of a potential release.
Yeah, irony, of course, is the bigger the release, the worse the future is. He literally keeps saying, no, you don't understand. Like, look at how many barrels of oil we're releasing from the strategic reserves. Yeah, that's an indication that this conflict is going to keep going. And that's the reason why it doesn't fucking actually stabilize prices at all. Because most people understand that until the Strait is open, there is no fucking global oil market.
Brought prices down from their peak, but clearly we're still up 50% or so from where we started the year. I guess my point is, are you starting to think, if this does keep persisting as it is, that the Navy has to go into the Strait of Hormuz to help ships get through, which would have a big effect?
Look.
No, it won't. Because the first time they try that, they're going to get fucking nuked with Shahed drones. The first time they try to cross the strait with a naval asset, or even before then, the first time they tried to bring a naval asset, or I mean, there are some on the other side of the Gulf, right? But the first time that they try to send a naval asset to try and tow an oil tanker, Iran will take advantage of that choke point and turn it into nothing, okay? They will destroy an American naval asset, which will completely diminish the confidence that people have in the American Navy. And what do you think? What do you think will happen to the oil markets then? What do you think happens to the futures when the American Navy that claims they can defend safe transit of commerce, safe transit of oil through the Gulf, through the Persian Gulf, through the Strait of Hormuz, shows the world that they are completely incapable? Iran knows this. Iran knows this, and that's the reason why they keep saying, go ahead, please do it. They literally keep saying it. They're like, come on, please. Send an American naval asset into the region, please. That would be fucking sick.
That was always in our planning, that there's the chance that U.S. Navy or perhaps an international coalition will be escorting oil tankers through. There are, in fact, tankers coming through now, Iranian tankers, I believe some Chinese flag tankers have come through. So we know that they have not mined the straits.
And was that what you were just discussing in the Situation Room?
We were discussing a plethora of things.
And is it your belief that the volume of ships going through the Strait of Hormuz will be improving immediately from now?
It is my belief that as soon as it is militarily possible, the U.S. Navy, and perhaps with an international coalition, will be escorting vessels through.
And that came up just now in the Situation Room?
Your words, not mine. But again,
are we days away from that?
We've been planning for this. We've done scenario analysis for months, for weeks, leading into this. So,
but it's a prospect in.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. They haven't. He's lying. I mean, there are obviously scenario analysis for this exact incident. The problem is, they very clearly did not think it through. Because if they had done so, if they had listened to the generals, for example, or the analysts that were warning them ahead of time, if you recall, I covered them extensively in the buildup of the Armada, they would not have done this. They would not have even brought the Armada there, which made it infinitely easier for Israel to goad America into attacking alongside them. They thought they had the capability of quickly deteriorating Iranian strike capabilities. They were fucking wrong. They thought they could control the country in a matter of days. They could just do an aerial bombardment, a decapitation strike of the leadership, and then boom, the Iranian people rise up. It's ironic because Benjamin Netanyahu and Gulf affiliated media properties like Iranian International literally lied in the same exact way to both the Iranians in Iran, saying that they were going to be their salvation, saying that all they need to do is rise up, that this would be a clean campaign. And they also lied to the Americans in the same way as well. They lied to everybody. If you're looking to shift the blame, like, I'm not saying the entire responsibility is in the hands of Israel. I'm not one of these guys that thinks like the Americans would have never done this if it wasn't for, blackmail and compromise or whatever. No, they're fucking monsters. They're bloodthirsty monsters. They don't give a shit. Americans are bloodthirsty fucking monsters. They are very clearly willing to wage this war, whether Israel is goading America into waging this war or whether they're doing it all on their own. It doesn't matter, right? They're clearly interested enough. A competent government that did not want Netanyahu to lead the Middle Eastern policy would not have brought their fleet to the region. They just would not have done so. They would have been like, fuck off. Yeah, we're not sending 60% of our naval assets to the region. Get the fuck out of here. You're on your own. You want to fucking hit Iran? You're on your own. See how quickly Israel backs down in that situation.
In the coming days, then?
It is a prospect as soon as we have complete control of the skies and are degrading they have no Air Force. The Navy is sunk, literally and figuratively. And the munitions factories, the rebuilding capabilities for the missiles, completely degraded. So
why is the strait not open? So why is it not open?
As soon as it is possible for to ensure safe passage, we will do it. And again, with the DFC insurance product, this was something that we had already anticipated. And because Lloyd's does call force majeure and the policies drop away, so we think that $20 billion in insurance for tankers going into and out of the Gulf will be enough to ensure a circular insurance program.
tons more to get to on your policy long term. A couple more in this area, if I may. What is the running cost?
What will happen if the U.S. starts targeting the Iranian tankers, depriving them of all their money? Destroyers will not run escort, but just sit off the coast with the phalanx guns. Great question, and you might not like the answer to this question. But have you noticed that Iranian tankers have been able to cross through the Strait of Hormuz fairly easily? And those very same Iranian tankers are shipping oil to the Asian markets. Why are Americans that love seizing oil tankers from even Russia, as a matter of fact, why are they not going beast mode on these Iranian tankers? Great question. It's because of where those Iranian tankers are going. They're going to China. And America has already demonstrated that they do not have the power to take out any fucking Chinese naval fleet whatsoever. That's it. That's literally it. That's it. Paper fucking tiger. Breaking. Iran has reportedly sent more than 11 million barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz since the war began, all bound for China, CNBC reported, citing shipping data. Start learning Chinese. I thought America just steals tankers. Venezuela. Yeah. Even Russian tankers America has intercepted. So why has America not intercepted Chinese tankers? Why is Iran still able to feed its coffers with the oil that it sells to China? As a matter of fact, the number of oil barrels that they're crossing the Strait of Hormuz right now, Iranian oil that's crossing the Strait of Hormuz, has increased. You are an idiot, and you and people like you will be the end of America. I am the idiot here, not your favorite president, not the president that literally did this exact thing. What level of fucking cope are you on, dumbass? If an accurate assessment of events that are transpiring in front of your eyes is that offensive to you that you have to close your eyes and imagine that, like, it's me, I'm the reason. I'm the one who urged America to send the largest fucking armada of naval assets into the region since 2003 in the occupation, the illegal, unjustifiable invasion of Iraq, and utilize all of those assets to defend Israel, strip the entire defenses from the bases in the region, allow billions of dollars worth of radar and early advanced warning systems to be destroyed in the fucking process, pull out their THAAD missile systems from places like Korea. We step on our enemies, pussy. Brother, unfortunately, there are a lot of Americans that are mentally handicapped in the same exact way that you are. And this is why you can't understand what's going on. Listen to my words. First of all, there is no we here, okay? You are not a petro-capitalist pedophile. So you are not making bank in this process, okay? There's no we. You know what you're doing? You're getting your surplus labor value extracted from you by those very same petro-capitalist pedophiles and the Epstein class. And then you are actually burning what remains of that disposable income, the meager wages that they say you are allowed to get. You're burning it because Donald Trump wanted to go to fucking war with Iran at the behest of Israel, a foreign nation state. Have fun with that, you fucking idiot. But of course, in your mind, you still think, oh, we're doing force projection. Hoorah, my dick is hard. We're killing our enemies. You're a fucking idiot. You are a fucking moron. You are literally refusing to see what is in front of your eyes right now. And not only that, but you're getting angry at a person who's actually making a sober assessment of the events that have unfolded for the past 9 days. Why is the Strait of Hormuz not open? America pussy, go to live in Iran. He's getting dumber. He's getting dumber and dumber. He's not American. Chatter likes Turkey. Turkey is nice. He's joking, bro. He's a comedian. Asman, I can't comment on Kick. Says I gotta wait. Maybe he is Turkish. Double mind cucked. No. Breaking via CBS News on War with Iraq. A KC-135 went down in western Iraq with a crew of 6. Another KC-135 was hit but landed in Israel. Ooh, not good. Nah, I'm from here. Hey, Big Lean, does this look good for force projection capabilities? Hey, Big Lean, can you explain to me the American calculation in going to war with Iran and getting our shit fucking stomped in all of our bases, turning all of our wonderful American military bases into nothing but fucking crater and ashes, losing numerous F-18s in the process, losing a shit ton of MQ-9 Reaper drones in the process, $30 million a pop, billions of dollars of satellite, SATCOM, and early advanced warning systems, spending all of our defense munitions on Israel to defend Israel, not you, right? To defend the nation state that is hell-bent on waging war with every fucking country in the region, pulling away our THAAD anti-missile defense systems from South Korea, and showing the rest of the world that we are completely incapable of offering real security assurances to countries, and that our American military bases are not actually a part of the security process whatsoever, but instead American military bases turn into missile and bullet sponges like that. What calculation has worked out for America so far, you think? You can keep deluding yourself day in, day out. It took 20 years to fail against the Taliban. It took 9 to recognize the failure against Iran. Question too long. I'm a proud American. I will die for it. America, pussy, and you're welcome. People like me are here. You will not die for Americans. When you do die, if a draft is implemented, you will die for Israel. You will die for the billionaires. You will die for the nation state of Israel. And it seems like you will enjoy it. So have fun with that, I guess. There's nothing funnier than watching the American military might fall apart in a matter of 12 fucking days and have dumb fuck Americans come in and be like, nah, dude, it's actually a tactical fucking victory for us. A tactical victory for us that we let these, tens of billions of dollars worth of fucking complex radar systems get reduced to rubble, actually. I love watching all of my healthcare money light on fire under a barrage of $7,000 Iranian Shahed drones. Womp womp. U.S. CENTCOM is aware of the loss of a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft. The incident occurred in the friendly airspace during Operation Epic Fury. Oh, God. Just saying that while they're fucking talking about a stratotanker getting blasted out of orbit is crazy. Be for fucking real, dude. Listen. My boss is fucking my wife tactically. Okay? And he's going to fuck my ass right after. But also, that's a tactical victory for me. I'll have you know, libtard, I wanted my ass fucked, okay? And I wanted to watch my wife get fucked first. You don't understand it because you're goddamn libtard who's out here thinking you want to have a gay-ass monogamous relationship with your loved one. Real patriots like me know our asses are gonna get fucked, and you'll thank me for it. 2 aircraft were involved in the incident. One of the aircraft went down in western Iraq, and the second one landed safely. This was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. Oh my God. Wait, what? Okay, so what was it? A fucking malfunction? I doubt it. I love that you had the right to speak nonsense. You're speaking Bill of Rights. America. Hell yeah, brother. We got free speech for the time being. I love that. Yeah, can you explain to me how invading Afghanistan or Iraq, doing regime destabilization in Libya or Syria played a formative role in maintaining your free speech protections at a time when the fucking president that you love is literally desperately trying to destroy freedom of speech? Sounds like a refueling accident that requires precise flying, and accidents can happen. I choose to believe that it wasn't.
At the moment of this war, $1 billion a day? 10 billion a day?
Again, I'm not keeping the running costs because, in the U.S. we separate Treasury from O&B, so that's why I'm the Treasury Secretary, not the Finance Minister.
Ballpark, though.
A number came out today, in the public number that was released today was about 11 billion thus far.
Thus far.
over a couple of weeks. And how long, as you look long-term at America's finances, how long are you planning for this conflict to continue for?
Again, that 11 billion is a lot of money, but we have cushions built in, and it's not something that we have to worry about over this horizon.
There's no chance you could be knocking on the president's door to say we have to pause on this, we can't afford it.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What we've seen last year was continued and increasing foreign interest in U.S. Treasuries. U.S. Treasuries had their best year since 2022, and we were the only G7 bond market with lower yields last year on the 10-year.
Just finally on this, you issued a 30-day waiver on Indian refiners who had been prevented from buying Russian oil. They got a 30-day waiver on that. Is it a matter of regret to you that Russia is benefiting from this conflict?
Well, I think it's an inevitability, and that's why we gave a 30-day waiver.
By the way, the fact that they're saying it's 11 billion means it's probably 30. Just so you fucking understand. The fact that they're outwardly declaring it's 11 billion means it is probably $30 billion.
Because the Russian barrels are on the water, and it is a quick source of for the Indian refineries. The other way to think about it is those barrels are going to end up in China anyway.
But is it a shame that Russia benefits?
Sorry, again, that it is unfortunate, and we hope that it will be in a micro period that they will benefit.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Also, cash money millionaire. Russia is earning up to $150 million a day in extra budget revenues from oil sales amid price rises, thanks to the U.S.-Iran war. Moscow has so far earned $1.3 billion to $1.9 billion from taxes on oil exports and could receive $3.3 billion to $4.9 billion in total by the end of March. This is why God's favorite Zionist is not Donald Trump. It's Vladimir Putin. Okay? Israel's strongest warrior, Vladimir Putin, sends his regards. Okay? He's out there sitting on a fucking pile of cash. He's like, duh. I could not believe. Oh, how wonderful. My most valuable ally, Israel, has caused the Americans to go to do this stupid thing.
To the special relationship and developments there. We've touched on this already. You've lived in the UK before for many years, still go back there a lot. President Trump said last week he's not happy with the UK. He said Keir Starmer is no Winston Churchill. You were speaking about that and what he said in the Oval Office about Spain and the UK last week. And you said that Spain had put American lives at risk. Did Keir Starmer do the same?
Again, that we delayed being able to fully implement the military plan, and I think that the main concern was the use of base Diego Garcia, and the US B-2s had to do a 37-hour round trip rather than, I think it's about a 3.5 hour round trip. So, constantly refueling over. So, I think any delay, causes an increase in risk. And again, President Trump is the commander-in-chief of the U.S. forces, and
don't remind me, bro. Don't remind me.
Again, being in the Situation Room with him, that he so solemnly takes that leadership role in terms of.
Dude, by the way, I've never seen this motherfucker panic as hard. This is one of the competent guys, right? Quote unquote, supposed to be competent in the administration. And he's flubbing so fucking hard. And he's like, well, think about how beautiful dear leader is.
His commitment to maintaining
yes, my Jacobin article came out. Calm down. We'll read it
the
later.
lives of our service people, that anything that upsets that upsets him. And I think that's what got the very strong reaction.
But just to clarify, you said of the Spanish, anything that slows down our ability to engage puts American lives at risk. The Spanish put American lives at risk. So did the UK do that too?
I think we have a great historical relationship, and I think we'll get it back on track.
How unhappy is President Trump with Prime Minister Starmer right now?
Belatedly, the Prime Minister offered to put resources in the region. I believe that there are resources in the region, and we have a long-term relationship. There will be some bumps in the road. I think we will eventually get back on track.
Have you heard any discussions of the King and Queen's visit due in the spring being cancelled?
Not at all.
Give me your percentage. Iran blows a dirty bomb in the USA. Very, very low. 0%. First of all, you have to think, why would they do that? Okay? Like, let's say their goal is to punish Americans or punish America. Think about how fucking complex of an operation that would be. Virtually impossible, right? Virtually impossible to conduct. Even if they had the ambition to do so, it would be virtually impossible to successfully do this when right now their current posture is infinitely more damaging to the United States of America and actually creating internal pressure in America with the rise of energy prices. It's not 5%, it's 0%. If there was some kind of Iranian-related terror incident, the much higher likelihood is that this was pulled off by Mossad and the CIA or just America internally in order to, whip up some support from the masses to feel a sense of revenge, a sense of purpose in this otherwise very unpopular war. This is currently the most unpopular war that we have waged in the history of American conflict. This is the most unpopular war. It's less popular than even Libya. Iran is currently doing incredibly well from their perspective, from their goals. Because what victory looks like for Iran is, one, significantly deteriorating American force projection capabilities in the region. Maximalist victory conditions would be to get America to remove their bases from the region. Okay? But as far as what their victory conditions are, is just surviving, right? Surviving while keeping the current government intact, keeping the Iranian sovereignty intact. As far as those goals, they're accomplishing those goals. So why would they do something crazy? Especially when Iran has shown time and time again that they actually are fairly restrained. It took quite a bit of loss for them to get to this point.
UK at the moment, there's a lot of sudden pressure again on the Prime Minister. Part of it relates to revelations about what he didn't know when he appointed Peter Mandelson.
A dirty bomb on U.S. soil would give America the allowance to nuke Iran. They would never do that.
Mandelson as ambassador to the United States. I think the headline question I have is, if requested by Congress, should Peter Mandelson, and for that matter separately Andrew Mount Van Windsor, testify to Congress?
Again, that's a matter for...
Even the CIA would never dirty bomb the U.S. That would be an Israel plot, 100%. Yeah. I saw a CIA YouTube short creator telling viewers to watch it for Iranian dirty bombs. Yeah, a lot of this is a messaging operation to spark up fears against Iran, a country that has literally never presented a threat to us. Never. Like, the maximum amount of threat that Iran has presented to the United States of America was during the hostage crisis, and that was directly a consequence, again, of our interference in Iranian democracy from 1953. During the revolution, decades after, students took over the American embassy and held the American staff at the American embassy hostage. That was it. And yet, for years and years, Americans kept making it seem like Iran was the number one threat to America. It wasn't. It was the number one threat to Israel. It's that simple. Anytime an American politician told you for the last 30 fucking years that Iran was the number one threat to America, they were just doing Israel's bidding. They were just lying and manufacturing consent. Iran has not only not been a threat to America at all, it's actually been an asset to America at times. So no, if there was any sort of like dirty bomb or something, there is 0% chance it would be Iran, and, you know, approximately a 50-50 split between, or 51-49% between CIA or Mossad, maybe collaborative effort.
For Congress.
Do you think they should come if asked?
I'm not sure what their legal obligations will be. I think it's a good idea. If Congress requests for you to come, you should come. But I'm not sure. I am one of the few people in Washington who's not a lawyer, and I'm not sure how it applies to overseas citizens or not.
I guess in the last week or two, we've been reminded of US policy that might be taking a step forwards without allies necessarily all coming on board. We talked about the clashes with Keir Starmer. I've heard you say very often, and the president said it too, that America first doesn't mean America alone. That is...
Bro, they got Scott Besson stuttering like XQC on national British broadcast. Why the fuck do you think Iran is not already cooking right now? Come on, man. He's one of the most competent guys in the administration, and he's over here bumbling like a fucking idiot. You think America's doing good? Just even sheer optics alone should cause you to understand America's not doing good right now at all.
Your intention and your aim from all of your policies. Do you ever have conversations with your counterparts that makes you worry?
IRGC responds to Trump's ground invasion proposal and begs to send troops. We have been waiting for such a day for years and years. We are 100% ready. Come from our ammunition crates. We have made coffins. We will bury you in this very soil. So that's the other side. Like, Iran stands to benefit from American boots on the ground military warfare, because then they get to enact revenge. They also stand to benefit from American naval carriers. American naval assets pursuing oil tankers and lugging them through the Strait of Hormuz.
ما سالیان ساله منتظر یه همچین روزی هستیم و آمادگی 100% داریم. بیاید.
I mean, that's before we even consider, like, there is no logistical supply chain that could feed, like, literally feed, and also feed ammunition to the frontline troops. It's so funny to be like, Lamau terror slob. Brother, this is a fucking functioning military in a sovereign nation, okay? I like that we are, we're saying that about the Houthis. We're saying that about fucking Hamas. Those are non-state actors for the most part. This is a state actor. It's functionally no different than, like, watching a Chinese trailer for their military. Okay? It doesn't extend to that. There are limits to this kind of, oh, you're doing terror propaganda or whatever the fuck. Unless you think, like, anyone that's brown or at odds with America is just a fucking terrorist. It's no different than watching DPRK shit. We'll do the synagogue. I'll cover the synagogue attacker in a second. There's been some updates on that story.
The situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well. Our military is unsurpassed. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we're doing what has to be done. Should have been done during a 47-year period. Could have been done by a lot of different people. They chose not to do it. But they really are a nation of terror.
Why actively go watch propaganda, bro? Why actively go watch propaganda? I mean, again, that's not propaganda at that point. That's communique from the hostile nation that is welcoming an American invasion. It's a statement coming from, it's like listening to the fucking foreign minister. It's like listening to the fucking foreign minister say the same exact thing. Also, I mean, I'm watching state propaganda right now.
And hate and they're paying a big price right now. The situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well. Our military is unsurpassed. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we're doing what has to be done. Should have been done during a 47-year period. Could have been done by a lot of different people. They chose not to do it. But they really are a nation of terror and hate. And they're paying a big price.
Smoking your granny, just move over there already? Why? Why would I do that? I'm an American. I want us to stop bombing other countries and start using that money on ourselves. Do you disagree? Why don't you move to Israel? If you want to do Israeli foreign policy, just move to fucking Israel. Go move to Israel, bitch. Why the fuck are you living here? I'm an American citizen. I want to change the American downward trajectory. I want to build a prosperous future for Americans and for the rest of the world. You, on the other hand, have no problems dumping billions of dollars and lighting them on fucking fire in this region at the behest of Israel. I don't. You got a disagreement with me? We can have a conversation around those disagreements. You want to do Israeli foreign policy? Go fucking move to Israel. You go live under the IRGC rockets.
Price right now. The situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well.
Very well. You got something to say? Sure, buddy. You're spreading propaganda. Pussy boy, you got something to say? Just sure, buddy. You're spreading propaganda. Propaganda is what? Explain to me, what is the propaganda here? Do you like doing Israel's foreign policy and wasting billions of dollars in the direction of Israel's foreign policy or not? You have a hard time answering that question, little man? Is that what it is? Does the truth offend you so much that you got to fucking cope and seethe? Whine like a little baby? Oh, I don't like it. Propaganda is something that I don't like, even if it's a cold, hard reality. Cold, hard pills that I must swallow. I don't want to swallow it. AI terrorist slot videos. Yeah, dude. I swear to God. God, the American right are cattle. They're just fucking livestock, you know? Just fucking livestock, dude. They're like, nope, I'm pliant. I'm servile. My butthole is ready to receive you. I banned him. The war divides European governments and institutions between loyalty to the alliance with Washington and defense of international law. Europe seeks a line that avoids this escalation. This is even more striking if you consider that Iran's regime is more vilified by mainstream media than Saddam ever was, and that Islamophobia is far more normalized in the EU than it was then. Clear-cut repudiation of the VDL Commission and U.S.-Israel alliance as a moral guide. Yeah, actually, it's worse than livestock, because you're right. Even fucking livestock don't run directly at the wolves, you know? These guys are something different. They're something different. Fish bait. W after W, man.
Worried that that choice won't be available to you? That America alone is starting to be how they see the actions that you're taking?
Well, I think you're seeing, as I said, I was in the Oval Office for the G7 leaders call. And the G7 leaders were all pretty much rallying around what the U.S. is doing, congratulating us for taking out this Iranian cancer on the world. And they're more concerned about how does it proceed. We're seeing what may be an international coalition in terms of the Straits of Hormuz, that many countries have offered their minesweepers should it be necessary for detection. And the other thing too, because I don't think in terms of our allies, there's anyone in the world who wanted the Iranian regime as it currently was constituted and the power it projected to continue. What we're also seeing too is the Arab nations that in the Gulf, they are shocked by the Iranian attack on them. And I think that they've gotten a rude awakening that imagine an Iran that was 2 or 3 times stronger than they were 12 or 14 days ago, on February 28th.
Is America out over its skis in the Middle East right now?
Absolutely not. As I said, we are every day we are moving ahead of plan, and Iran is the degraded. There was a message from the bunker from the new Ayatollah. We haven't seen him, so let's see if we see him.
You suggesting he's no longer alive?
Is he compos mentis? Is he injured? Is he, is he under threat from the other members of the regime?
Do you think regime change? Let's
Cope.
touch
Oil prices.
How is it possible that when I watch Asmin stream is so different? And why doesn't he want to debate you? Because he's living in an alternative reality. And his primary purpose is to just do propaganda for MAGA. Is to do propaganda for the Trump administration, right? My primary purpose is to explain to you exactly what's fucking going on and cut through the noise and cut through the lies. That's it. And the reason why he doesn't want to talk to me is because if he were to have a conversation, with me, his audience would very quickly recognize that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So he's terrified of the prospect of being humiliated. That's it. He has tremendous anxiety. And he copes and masquerades as though he's actually coming at it from a position of power. Oh, I'll just farm you. I'll just keep farming you. But the reality is, he's just fucking terrified. I really want to see that one day. Is that why you won't debate anyone smaller and smarter than you? I debate people that are smaller than me all the time. I debate people that are quote unquote smarter by your standards, I assume, as well. Not easy dunks. Aw, does it feel bad when the dunks are too easy? Is that what it is? So what you want is someone who can actually destroy me in the marketplace of ideas. That's what it is. Not easy dunks. My rear end hurts from the impact. Yeah. Oh, you got owned by Charlie Kirk in the debate. Really? How'd that work out, Chatter, for you and your movement? Did that work out well?
Is shot back up to over $100 a barrel overnight as Iran focuses more of its attacks on fuel, tankers, fuel depots, infrastructure across the region. Just take a look at this video from Bahrain. This morning, the International Energy Agency is sounding new alarms, saying that the war in the Middle East is causing the, quote, largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. Main reason, oil has been stuck in the Middle East for more than a week because of right there what you're looking at, the Strait of Hormuz. The IEA says the flow of crude and oil products through the Strait of Hormuz has reduced to a trickle. Now President Trump is trying to blunt the impacts of this, authorizing the release of 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's part of a broader release of a record 400 million barrels agreed to by the 32-nation International Energy Agency.
CNN business executive editor David Goldman is here with us now. You wrote that the IEA releasing 400 million barrels of oil is like smashing the brake in case of emergency glass. But what will it mean? Is that enough to sort of make things easier for people and businesses, or is it just a drop in the bucket, so to speak?
Well, it's clearly not having an impact right now. I mean, what John was just saying is so key. The only thing that the oil market cares about is getting the Strait of Hormuz back open. This was an extraordinary release of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and it didn't have an impact at all on oil prices. The fact that we went back above $100 last night kind of tells you everything you need to know. It's just not going to help unless we get that strait back open.
I'm curious how long, if this goes on for a few more weeks or months, how long before there's a breaking point where it's very hard to go back? It takes a long time for supply chains to recover, as we saw when it came to COVID.
Yeah, duration is key here, because the longer this goes on, the more pain for you and me. It's not just that we're filling our tanks at $3.60 today. That could go to $4, but truckers are filling their trucks with diesel, which is closing in on $5, and all the stuff that's on those trucks is going to be more expensive for you and me. The businesses that are loading stuff onto trucks.
Iran is also, Iran is not just like destroying America's refueling capabilities. It seems Iran is destroying American refueling capabilities in Iraq as well, seemingly by targeting stratotankers, the aerial refueling planes, one of which actually went down in Iraq. The other one was able to land and do an emergency landing in Israel. So ain't nobody is refueling, both in the air and on the ground, nowhere.
Trucks, that costs more money for them, and they're paying all these tariff costs. Do you think that they're going to eat the cost of the fuel surcharges? I don't think so. Those are costs that you and I are going to pay too.
Ultimately, how high do you think this is going? We're now, when it hits above 100 a barrel, we all feel it. Where do you see this going if this continues to be blocked?
Well, there is other oil in the world. I mean, we're a huge producer of oil in the United States, the largest in the world, actually. And so there's a point at which, you can't make oil more expensive and people will continue to pay for it. Everyone seems to think that $150 a barrel is the peak for this if the strait is just permanently closed. So, that's $5 gas, that's maybe $5.50 gas. So, you have to wonder how much longer this is going to go and if we're going to get to that point. But that's about how high this could go.
Yeah, if the average is
Iran is going after Israel's gas fields. IRGC General Majid Musawi says Israeli gas fields of Leviathan and Karish located in the Mediterranean have become targets. The thing is, they could actually fucking, they won't hit Turkey, but like the pipelines that flow from Azerbaijan to Israel cross through Turkey. And Turkey has the capacity to literally turn off Israel's energy literally today if they wanted to. That's number one. Number two, Israel is effectively a port nation. Most of his trade, most of his commerce comes from the ports, okay? The overwhelming majority of its trade is conducted at its ports. If Iran actually wanted to terrorize Israel and effectively destroy the Israeli economy, they would just target the fucking ports. I suspect that part of the reason why they have not, hit the ports as hard, obviously, the Houthis were capable of bankrupting not Haifa, but the Eilat port with their blockade last year or 2 years ago at this point. And the Hezbollah strikes have mostly focused on Haifa. And that is another capability up the escalation ladder for Iran. If Iran feels threatened, they always have more strike targets, specifically in Israel. Now that Israel has struck the Iranian energy grid, the IRGC is saying, we will strike back against your gas fields. Okay? How do you sit here, gang? If you actually are believing this, you're delusional, Hassan. Stop, Hassan, bruh. How do you just sit here and listen to Iran's lies like this? You make the point that you're coping, my boy. Bruh. Bruh, on God, okay? On God, I'm not the one who's coping between you and I, okay? Okay, bruh? On God, that's a Fed. It's not. It's not. These are like, oh, God. Jesus Christ. One of your other rare L-take gang, why would we not defend Taiwan? Bruh, no, it's not. Gang, Iran has hella mines still. What do you mean? Gang, that takes time. Yes, they do. My boy, you need to actually further dive into geopolitics, especially on military operations. You just make no sense on that, gang. No offense, though. Can I ask you a question? Why is it that the entire mainstream media has been objectively wrong every single day on whatever targets that the American military had and their outright failure to accomplish those targets? Why is it that, one, the Iranian regime has not been destabilized and is still very much intact? And two, why is Israel still eating missiles? If I'm coping, bruh, on God. Today, I'll be honest, for the last 12 days, we haven't seen this massive flow of copers and American military might dick riders. It's taken 12 days for people to come in and just start being like, why don't you go and fight for Iran with your pedophile Muslims, for example? Also, I do love that. Calling the Iranians pedophiles is pretty funny when, you know, we're currently conducting Operation Epstein Fury. But, you know, keep coping on that one. But it took 12 days, but finally they're here. You know, the bots are back. An air campaign, the media will not talk about successes. Also, an air campaign takes time, gang. Please stop calling me gang, okay? White boy from Naperville. You won't slide for Vaughn, ass motherfucker. Why is that frustrating for you? Because that's a white boy from Naperville that's LARPing. And it's very fucking annoying. I'm actually from Chicago. That's funny. Yeah, from Naperville, motherfucker. Bro, stop hating on Naperville. I will never stop hating on Naperville. Never. Stop behaving like a fucking cornball. You need to hear my voice, Goofy. Motherfucker, you're the goofy one. Stop focusing on the aesthetics and explain to me what you think. Oh, an air campaign takes time, gang. Explain to me when an air campaign has been able to successfully destabilize an entire country and remove its leadership from power, and why it hasn't happened yet, gang. Oh. I thought after day 9, these motherfuckers would have stopped and been like, okay, maybe America's not doing great, you know? Never mind. They're just doubling down on the copium. Tens of billions of dollars worth of satellites, SATCOMs, radars, early advanced warning systems destroyed. America can't even fucking protect its own bases, its own assets in the region. America can barely protect Israel from being struck by a country that has the economy the size of an American state. And you're over here being like, oh, dude, on God, it takes a while. Gulf War as could have removed Saddam off that alone. I know my shit, it can happen with Iran as well. That shit takes time. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? So you're saying we could have done it, but we didn't? Like, is that, and that somehow proves your point? I'm saying we can remove the regime with an air campaign. No, you can't. And that's precisely why you haven't. And that's why we won't. The only comparison that you could even come close to is Libya. And Libya had popular mobilization on the ground. Idiot. You cannot do a regime change without popular mobilization. You need forces on the ground. You're a fucking idiot. No military commander, no general will ever tell you that that's within our capability. That's not the case. You think it's going to happen in a few weeks? You don't know what's going on within the CIA. Oh my God, I remembered. This is the guy. Oh my God, I just remembered. This is the guy who was like, oh, you think America doesn't have contingencies, bro? Oh my God, this was the guy. This was the guy where I was like, hey, have you noticed that like we had to literally pull our defense assets from South Korea? Do you feel like that's actually very cash money? Do you feel like we're actually capable of withstanding a war with fucking China? And he was like, dude, you think America doesn't know, bro? I'm sure they got some kind of contingency. Cattle. Yeah, here's what the fucking U.S. intelligence is saying right now. Hey, gang! This is what the CIA is saying right now. A classified report by the National Intelligence Council representing the collective wisdom of America's 18 intelligence agencies found that even a large-scale assault on Iran would be unlikely to oust its entrenched military and clerical establishment. The report outlines succession scenarios resulting from either a short or extended U.S. military campaign. In both cases, it concluded that the clerical and military establishment would respond by Khamenei's killing by following protocols designed to preserve the country's continuity of power. The report says the prospect of Iran's fragmented opposition taking control of the country is unlikely, raising doubts that Trump's declared plan to clean out Iran's leadership structure and install a ruler of his choosing would not work. It's so funny, like literally all of the intelligence community is basically universally saying the same exact shit. And this guy's like, nah, dude, the CIA is actually holding off on using their secret weapon. They got magicians and fucking warlocks hidden inside of Langley, and they're gonna come out and they're gonna cast a fucking hex on the Muslim clerics. Those leaks come from other sides of the CIA. They leaked that to cause doubt, bro. Who listens to that? You're such a fucking idiot, dude. It's awesome. When most of your ops agree with you, this is what's left, lol. Yeah. No, gang. That's CIA, gang. That's other sides of the CIA, gang. The other sides of the CIA have the warlocks. They're ready to hex it. They're ready to hex the Iranian clerics, gang. On God. Shut the fuck up.
$5 or $5.50. In California, that means $7, $8. And we're starting to see some of those numbers creep up there in places like Los Angeles. Thank you so much, David. Really insightful. A lot of people worrying about this very particular issue that affects literally everybody in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to help.
Appreciate it.
Joining us right now is the Energy Secretary of the United States to talk about this. Chris Wright. Secretary, thank you for coming in. Does this announcement about the drawdown of SPRO and with the IEA...
Cattle gang. One of my favorite Trump-era GOP-based polling facts is that at the outset of the Ukraine war, Republicans were most likely demo to say that the U.S. wasn't providing enough aid. Their views only shifted when Trump said so. Yeah. Republican support for bombing Iran was 53%, Quinnipiac on 114, then shot up to 85 to 90% after Trump attacked Iran on 228. So there's a vague current of anti-war sentiment within the GOP, but the lesson is it's superficial and easily jettisoned whenever their cult leader goes neocon. Yep. Bro, it's so funny to think that America has like this air superiority that they are just hiding, that they haven't utilized yet. They haven't deployed. They just want the Gulf to be caught on fire. Okay? You don't understand, gang? They could open the Strait right now, bro. My uncle is Pete Hegseth. And he told me, he's a little drunk on the phone, but he told me that they could open the fucking Strait right now if they wanted to. They just don't want to do it yet. They want the buildup. They want the buildup. They want it to be, they want everyone to feel the hurt first. And then we come in with the cavalry, baby. What's going to happen if America gets desperate enough to try to fucking pull an oil tanker through the Strait and gets evaporated? Will you come in here and apologize? Or will you move the goalpost to something different? To be like, nah, dude, that was an old fucking American naval asset. That's not even worthy. They wanted that to be a fucking bullet sponge. You know what I mean? Answer the question on why we're bombing Tehran daily with no air superiority. You answered this question. What the fuck does Tehran have to do with Iranian strike capabilities? Do you think the missile stockpiles are inside of fucking Tehran? Is that inside of the schools? I will come in here and apologize if that happens. I will also come in here and laugh in your face if the regime falls. Oh.
Mean the problem is solved in your view?
Literally every single competent American administrator is ringing the alarm bells about how this has not gone down the way that they thought it would. And there are still dumb fuck Amerifats in my chat who are like, no, dude, they're just casting doubt on America's military might right now in this pivotal moment for no fucking reason. It's actually to undermine the confidence of our forces so that when we come back, it's going to be spectacular. What will it take for you to fucking recognize you're coping? There's no fertilizer. There's no gas or oil crossing the Strait of Hormuz unless it's going to China with Chinese flagged vessels. Why do you think America's not seizing the Chinese flagged vessels right now? Why?
Oh, no, this does not mean it's solved. The problem is Iran's behavior, Iran's military, Iran's threatening for American troops, their neighbors, energy markets for 47 years. But the disruption of oil...
Dog, he keeps going back and saying Iraq. Look, Hassan, it's war. Why do you not understand that? It happens when we invaded Iraq as well. People thought shit wasn't going well. The media was pushing it. You just not getting the shit, bruh. Bruh. Are you getting the shit? I think your brain has been reduced to shit, especially because Iraq was not a fucking success. You dingus. You fool. You moron. Your example of an American military conquest that was successful is Iraq? Are you fucking stupid? It's war, bruh. You not getting this shit, bruh. It's war. Iraq was massive success.
Temporary disruption of oil through...
Fucking dumbass literally looked at George W. Bush unfolding the mission accomplished banner and was like, see? Dude, they fucking showed the banner on the carrier, dude. Look, can you not read the banner? It says mission accomplished. It doesn't say mission failed. Obviously, if they were failing, they would roll the mission failed. We'll get them next time banner.
The Straits of Hormuz, that's what the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is for. So as we have a shortage of market coming through that avenue, we're going to bring oil to market through other avenues to get through a few weeks of a short-term dislocation to get to a much better place on the other side.
You say a few weeks. That's the view from the United States, maybe the president. But as we've seen overnight, Iran has a say in how long this goes on. Israel has a say in how long this goes on as well, with the IEA's announcement of releasing a third of emergency reserves yesterday. Reaction overnight was oil went up over 100. Again, the message being...
Bro's soybean farmer uncle has a gun in his mouth right now, and he's in here talking about American superiority. Yeah, when the gun goes off, he's going to be like, bro, why didn't you believe in the American military superiority? Why'd you kill yourself, Unc? Unc, why'd you kill yourself? The mission was about to be a success, bruh. Fuck. That's crazy.
Then that the only thing that matters is Hormuz. Can the United States declare victory, success, without the Strait of Hormuz being reopened?
No, the Straits of Hormuz needs to be and will be reopened.
I agree that the war as a whole wasn't a success, but the invasion was. Brother, first of all, no one has ever said, well, we won the battle, but we lost the war, and then used that as a fucking resounding success. That's number one. And number two, that's precisely what I was joking about with the mission accomplished banner. And number two, if you think invading Iran is going to play out in the same way that it did with the invasion of Iraq, you are a fucking idiot. Okay? Bro, it was a fucking spectacular success. It's war, gang. That's why we got ISIS now. It's sick.
The U.S. military is there to solve a long-term problem, which is Iran's had 47 years in ability to...
You don't get it, bro. We're up 3 in the first quarter.
...threaten the Straits of Hormuz. And not long from now, Iran would have nuclear arms and a massive missile...
Which, by the way, it doesn't even matter because right now we're not even up 3 in the first quarter, okay? We're down 50 in the first quarter, okay? Like... That's why it's even funnier where people are like, no, you don't understand, bro. Like, it's different, bro. It's different. It's going to be, we won, gang. We won, gangy.
Program surrounding that. This was a can that could not be kicked down the road one more administration. We need to defang, and we are defanging Iran's abilities to threaten American troops in the areas, its allies, its neighbors, and global energy markets. So, yes, you've got to go through short-term pain to solve a long-term problem. This is bold leadership of President Trump. This is what the world needs.
But understanding this going in, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve was at about half-ish, I'll say, full when the war started. The president had campaigned, Secretary, on refilling the Strategic Reserve right up to the top, his words. Why go to war in the Middle East with a depleted emergency reserve?
Well, number one, as we bring this oil out, it will be exchanges. We'll pull out 170 million barrels and put over 200 million barrels back in at no cost to the taxpayer. Because the price of oil in the short term is higher right now than the price of oil a year down the road.
But that doesn't alleviate the crisis today. You can only put back, the flow rate can only be about 2 million, and that's being optimistic, barrels a day into the global system. So you've got a long time to untwist this problem, no matter what.
And of course, this is in coordination with 30 countries. The real issue right now is Asian refineries. That's where oil coming out of the Gulf goes to. So Japan is releasing at a much higher relative rate to their imports. It's the Asian refineries that we want to keep running and tamp down the price of oil to the extent.
Don't worry, they'll go to China for some of that sweet juice that comes out of the ground, okay? Don't worry. They're good. They're good, buddy. They'll get that sweet Iranian crude, baby. Oh, buddy.
Damn, this guy's good.